Yo, peace, everybody. Yeah, I'm late, and it is what it is. Yep, busy day, busy day. But yeah, we're gonna get right into it. Let's get right into it. Let's get some opening music going on. Let me set everything up, and then we can get started. Wait a minute. Gonna say that one for last. Um, say that towards the end. All right, we'll save him towards the end. Hold on. All right. Ooh, wasn't even sharing my screen.
Cards featured Moor kings, and Spanish processions displayed Moorish queens and empresses. So, if you're going to keep crying about it's pseudo and swear black people ain't never did nothing, while your whole research folder is just Africans getting peed on by cows, do humanity a favor, remove your head from your ass, hydrate, and go study these stone-carved receipts, because history is written in granite. It's time to wake up to this Moorish history. Open your eyes and not your ass. Days from Africa. Then how the hell do you explain this? This is St. Maurice of Magdeburg Cathedral in the 13th century, depicted as a Moor. A so-called black man, keep looking. This is Black King Balthazar in the Procession of the Magi fresco, who was also shown as a Moor. This San Benedetto il Moro, Benedict the Moor of Sicily, continues this tradition, as does the depiction of Black Saint Victor of Marseille. Saint Elizban, or Caleb of Aksum, was venerated in Spain and Portugal, and Saint Iphigenia of Ethiopia was honored in Lisbon. Saint Onufrius appears in Black Desert Father iconography, while the Black Madonna of Einsiedeln in Switzerland and the Black Madonna of Europa in Italy reveal long-standing Moorish icon traditions. Saint Gerion of Cologne was portrayed as a Moorish Roman soldier, just as Maurian, the Arthurian Black Knight. The Arthurian Black Knight appears in medieval manuscripts, alongside the wider tradition of the Black Knight of Arthur's court. Othello, the Venetian Moor, is preserved in early paintings, and records even show black gondoliers of Venice. Moorish pages appear throughout Spanish royal court paintings, as well as in 1502's Lisbon Palace artwork. Medieval texts contain Saracen giants, and early icons of St. George depict him as black. The Black Magus is preserved in the Cologne Cathedral shrine. Russian icons show the Black Guardian of the North Star, and European heraldry includes the Chevalier Moire Knight, early Black Lions of Flanders, and many coats of arms bearing the Moor's head symbol. Florence's royal Magi processions included Moorish rulers, and heraldry across Europe widely used the Moor's head. St. Maurice's companions were shown as an entire legion of Moors, and a statue of the Black Knight stands in Turin. Iberian illuminated chronicles show black nobles. Medieval playing cards featured Moor kings, and Spanish processions displayed Moorish queens and empresses. So, if you're going to keep crying about its pseudo and swear black people ain't never did nothing, while your whole research folder is just Africans getting peed on by cows, do humanity a favor, remove your head from your ass, hydrate, and go study these stone-carved receipts, because history is written in granite. It's time to wake up to this Moorish history. Open your eyes and not your ass.
Boy, so get your head out your ass. All right. Let's go to the next one.
Africa through the Grand Canyon.
Who says you can't walk to Africa from America?
Where are you from?
India.
India? What, you too?
Yeah.
How long have you been walking?
All day.
Did you fly into Mexico and then walk the rest?
Walk.
But where did you fly into?
Walking.
How do you walk from India? Are you from India too?
Pakistan.
Oh, Pakistan. Bangladesh. Okay. Walk from India?
India, Punjab.
India?
Just to make sure you're on the same page, they walk from Iran, India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, into Mexico, and into America. Oh, it's about to get better. So go ahead and like this video, share it, and subscribe if you haven't already. And leave me a comment to let me know what you think.
The Grand Canyons is the gateway.
Discovery that will blow your mind.
Now, how many times have you taken a trip across the pond, as they call it? And it was like a 9+ hour flight. And sometimes it came with a layover. You see this? I'm about to show you the real deal. Take a look. I want you to see how close North and South America actually are to one another. North America and Asia. Asia and Europe. Europe and Australia. Asia and Africa. Asia and Europe. Russia and the US. If either of them try to bomb the other, all of us will go. We're too close together. That's good news. Drum rolls, please. The famous Bering Strait that the people who became the Native Americans crossed from their homeland of Siberia and Mongolia to come into the United States to become the natives of America. As you can clearly see, it does not really look like this. It looks more like this. Please tell me I'm not the only one that can see the writing on the wall, that it doesn't take a 10-hour flight. And layovers are not even necessary to go across the pond in either direction. So what does that tell you? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section. As always, they suppress my content.
Shoreline of our world is Antarctica. The foundation of Antarctica is higher than any other continent. Everything that you know is a lie. The United Nations map, flat Earth map, International Maritime Organization, flat Earth map, World Meteorological Organization, flat Earth map, International Civil Aviation Organization. These are the things that control the world. Why do they all have flat Earth maps? What about this?
Whoa.
This makes sense. What if we live here? What if this is where we live? Right there. These are other ponds with their own suns.
Not a single commercial plane has flown over Antarctica?
No, none, ever.
Whoa, why?
Because you can't fly over Antarctica. Look there. World Cup soccer.
Oh.
Okay? They were in Doha. They wanted to go back to Buenos Aires. They went to Rome to refuel, and then they went back there. Why didn't they just go here? Because if they did, there's no place to refuel out here. On a flat Earth, Doha, Rome, Buenos Aires. So here's an emergency. They were going from New York to Hawaii, right about here, and they said we have to land. So they went to Seattle, which is like 1,000 miles out of the way. They got there in record time. New York, Seattle, Hawaii.
Yeah. Who's directing the airlines to construct these flight pathways?
Yeah, interesting.
The Stuart family. The Stuart family is the ones that founded Scotland, right? So in those times when people gave themselves surnames or last names, they was using a last name or something that described themselves or described what they do or whatever. Stuart meant black or meant dark. That's what Stuart meant, right? So when I did research, studying or whatever, the Stuarts, I'm coming into conflicting information. Some of their paintings they had were white, and some of their paintings they had were black. So I'm like, hold on, what the fuck going on? Henry Lord Darnley, for one. At the time, I was studying the origins of religions in Europe, and I had to study King James. So come to find out, King James is Stuart. So I'm like, oh shit, don't tell me motherfucking King James black. So I started digging up more, right? I'm going into, I'm in the UK government archive files looking at shit, right? And at the time, they didn't use the word black. It was other terms, Moor, Maroon, Maury, Ameri, Tamari, Swarthy. They was using those terms. So when they was describing King James in archive literature, they always said he was swarthy. And swarthy means dark, black. So now I'm like all in it. I'm like, okay, let me look up King James' parents. See, King James, he changed his name when he became king. They changed their name, became king. That's why his name was King James, the first of his kind. But his real name was Jacob Stuart. Jacob with an I. I-A-C-O-B. That was his name. Jacob Stuart. But back then, they pronounced I's like J. So it sounded like Jacob or whatever. Now, I looked up his parents, and Henry Lord Darnley, that was his father. Henry Lord Darnley, that was his father. I'm looking him up. They saying he's swarthy with curly hair, and all the ladies loved him, and he had majestic eyes, and I'm looking up pictures of him. Black as fuck. Black as fuck. So now I'm like looking up his motherfucking kids. So King James had a son named Charles, right? Guess what his nickname was? The Black Boy. That was his nickname, the Black Boy. So I'm a little excited right now, so forgive me. But you definitely tell the truth, because when the Renaissance era came in, it came in right when King James was murdered, right? And when the Renaissance era was nothing but a whitewashing era. They was erasing the previous art. They was erasing the previous literature, burning books. They was putting their names on certain paintings. This is why Michelangelo, Donatello, Leonardo, all of those artists became famous. Shakespeare, all of those artists became famous or whatever, because this was the Renaissance era when they was whitewashing everything. I'm glad you said something.
Interesting.
This is the science, the philosophies, the system of the universe. This ain't nothing to be, oh, this is that spooky stuff. This that stuff we gotta run away from. This is exactly what you need.
Hold on, let me reload this thing.
From us. See that? The G is in the center. The seventh letter of the alphabet. The 7 is the number of perfected man. This ain't got nothing to do with Freemasonry. This is the science, the philosophies, the systems of the universe. This ain't nothing to be, oh, this is that spooky stuff. This that stuff we gotta run away from. This is exactly what you need to be looking into. And this is Moorish science.
You can't handle the truth.
This ain't come from no pale-skinned Caucasian. This came from our ancient foremothers and forefathers. Mother and son. That's Mason. Then you come right here. What do you see right there? Man. Man is master, able, and noble. That right there is on every hospital. That's the symbol of the catechist. That's the ascension of the Christ degree from the bottom of the spine to the top of the pineal gland. The wings that's on the side right there are the wings of Mayat. That's what that means. That's the symbol of the star child. Right there. That's also the symbol of the 4 lunar cycles. That's also a symbol of the 4 seasons, 4 directions. This is where you get the news from. But they demonize all of this stuff and have us out here thinking that this ain't reality. But everybody else been using our science for their reality. We've been told that this right here is just, y'all don't need to be studying that. What y'all studying that for? That ain't gonna help you do nothing. So if it ain't gonna help us do nothing, why y'all ain't never show us? That part. The acronym of you. What does that say? Your own universe. You yourself are a piece of the universe. You, because you're a starseed. So since you're a starseed, all this information about the Moorish arches, let me tell you something, fam. The Moorish arch is an ancient universal doorway to higher knowledge. So you got to step through that arch. You got to step through that doorway. This is why we ain't been taught Moorish science.
Interesting. Just interesting. Let's go here.
Exterminated, then created an organization to help do it. And now her name is on clinics all over the country. So the lady name is Margaret. And Margaret has an issue. You know them annoying weeds that grow uncontrollably? She believed blacks were the human version of those weeds and needed to be exterminated. And this is literally her direct quote. So she created something called the Negro Project, which you probably heard of, but what you probably didn't hear is that it was built on a plan to stop black people from reproducing. And the crazy part about it is she found a way to use feminism to make genocide look like empowerment. Now, it's a lady named Hillary, and Hillary is married to a man named William. And William isn't just the average man. He becomes the 42nd president of the United States. And Hillary is a big fan of Margaret and her work. Yes, she's literally a fan of a woman who wanted to exterminate black people. So fast forward to 2016, Hillary ends up running for president herself. And the crazy part about it is the lady that's a fan of the black exterminator ends up getting majority of the black vote. Literally 91%. And according to Hillary, she admires Margaret's vision enormously. And Margaret is called the birth control pioneer. But the truth, she wasn't just trying to give women choices. She was trying to control who was allowed to exist. See, she believed in a movement called eugenics. This weird idea that certain people were unfit to reproduce. And unfortunately, black people were on the unfit list. In her own words, she said, we don't want the word to go out that we want to exterminate the Negro population. And that's a letter she wrote in 1939. And that's not a conspiracy. That's archived history. In the 1930s, she launched something called the Negro Project, which we briefly touched on earlier. Sounds like a charity, right? Nah, it was literally a campaign to convince black people to reduce their own numbers. And I know what you're thinking. How'd she do that? See, look, she was smart. She knew she couldn't just roll up to a black community and say, hey, stop having kids. So she recruited black ministers, doctors, and even nurses to spread her message. She said, and I quote, that black leaders were the key to keeping the project under the radar. This wasn't about health. This was about population control. And the crazy thing about it is, it worked. She wrapped genocide in a language of empowerment. Now here's where it get real twisted. If you want to watch the full video, comment full below or check out my story for the link. You ain't gonna believe it.
Interesting.
Unconstitutional, stating Congress could not prohibit slavery in the U.S. Territories and that enslaved people were property. Damn.
Google that shit. I ain't lying to you.
Now you might say, I thought the Emancipation Proclamation freed the so-called slaves. Cap. The Emancipation Proclamation set up by Abraham Lincoln did not free the slaves. The Emancipation Proclamation, what it did was it commissioned slavery by voluntary consent.
Here I come. Oh, here I come.
The 13th Amendment, specifically, it created a second-tier level of citizenship. So you would say a second-class citizenship for people that identify as slave brands. So if you identify as a person of color, slave brand. Pan-African, slave brand. Black man, black woman, slave brand. Indian, slave brand. That's what the 13th Amendment was established to do. The Emancipation Proclamation didn't free y'all. They lied to y'all.
You can't handle the truth.
In the heat of battle, he don't miss.
And see, the cognitive dissonance in your head, I'll be like, nah, Kush, it couldn't have been like that. What you mean? What about civil rights? What about all the civil rights and the NAACP? Yeah, hold on. You want a receipt?
I'ma kill him. I'm about to kill him.
The Supreme Court declared the Civil Rights Act of 1875 unconstitutional in the 1883 civil rights cases.
You think you can do this to me?
Fam, all these civil rights organizations are fraud. They all cap.
I'm putting cases on all you bitches.
Each and every last one of them is cap. But they ain't gonna tell us that. Why not? Because if they told us that, then the game will be over. They can't make these no more.
Let him cook.
I'm gonna let him.
All right, we're gonna listen to this one more time. One more time.
You're gonna want to share this out with everybody that you know. That's a critical thinker. Now, back over here to Dred Scott. He was misidentifying as an African American. So the Supreme Court said, okay, since you want to be an African American, we're gonna rule that you're not a citizen. Look, the ruling also declared the Missouri Compromise unconstitutional, stating Congress could not prohibit slavery in the U.S. territories and that enslaved people were property. Damn.
Google that shit. I ain't lying to you.
Now you might say, I thought the Emancipation Proclamation freed the so-called slaves. Cap. The Emancipation Proclamation set up by Abraham Lincoln did not free the slaves. The Emancipation Proclamation, what it did was it commissioned slavery by voluntary consent.
Here I come. Oh, here I come.
The 13th Amendment, specifically, it created a second-tier level of citizenship. So you would say a second-class citizenship for people that identify as slave brands. So if you identify as a person of color, slave brand. Pan-African, slave brand. Black man, black woman, slave brand. Indian, slave brand. That's what the 13th Amendment was established to do. All
right, so slave brand. Now, voluntary consent, right? This is where there's a documentary you guys should look up. It's in the YouTubes too. You can find it on YouTube. It's called Slavery by Another Name. You can also find it in your state constitution, right? I can find that in, excuse me, I can find that in the California Constitution, where it says that involuntary servitude and peonage is abolished except for criminal act. Okay. Now, under the circumstances, this, and you look at Title 42, Section United States Code, Section 1994, which says peonage is abolished. Voluntary servitude and peonage. You also got 18 U.S.C. Chapter 77 that deals with involuntary servitude and peonage. But within the structures of the states, right? This is where the states and the federal government are having issues. Is that what's going on, old dude? What takes place is the conflict. This is where the conflict comes in. Now, if slavery is supposed to be abolished, and now you're dealing with a specific type of verbiage like this guy is using, voluntary participation. You see? So I'm going to go through, I'm just showing this, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to play my presentation that I did in a debate, because we went over the oral argument in the Supreme Court. And a lot of things that they were discussing was dealing with a lot of topics that I raised prior to this oral argument. And I'm not saying I had anything to do with it, but I think it caught a lot of attention for the fact that these people are actually putting terminology and information that is pretty much surface talk in order for somebody to react. As I mentioned before, applications, services, benefits are all voluntary. Your W-4 is voluntary. But they advertise it and market it to make it seem like it's mandatory. Also mandated by law or the rule of law. So let me do this real quick. We'll remove some of this stuff here that don't need to be there. Let me remove some of this stuff here that ain't got nothing to do with nothing. All right. Let me come here. Now, I was just doing some quick searching, and I did a research through ChatGPT, and how I deal with ChatGPT is I make sure we're not doing any type of surface talk. We go a little bit past the surface talk and let's deep dive into it. Okay. Let me move this out so this will be ready. And what I'm going to do is give you an example. I'm going to give you an example. Nope, not that one. Let's go to about, and let's bring up the document. Now, I'm just bringing this up so you guys can see right here. This is pretty much what a lot of people fill out. This is what you call a voluntary withholding request. It says purpose of form right here. Purpose of forms: if you want the payer to withhold federal income tax from any of the government payments shown below. This is voluntary if you want. Right? Is my screen sharing? Hopefully it is. Hold on. Yeah, all right. I'm looking for my phone. My thing is slow. What's going on, business? All right, so look. Let's go back here. I don't know how long you've been here. Let's go back here. And let's listen to this guy one more time.
Emancipation Proclamation didn't free y'all. They lied to y'all.
You can't handle the truth.
In the heat of battle, he don't miss.
And see, the cognitive dissonance in your head, I'll be like, nah, Kush, it couldn't have been like that. What you mean? What about civil rights? What about all the civil rights and the NAACP? Yeah, hold on. You want a receipt?
I'm gonna kill him. I'm about to kill him.
The Supreme Court declared the Civil Rights Act of 1875 unconstitutional in the 1883 civil rights cases.
You think you can do this to me?
Fam, all these civil rights organizations are fraud. They all cap.
I'm putting cases on all you bitches.
Each and every last one of them is cap. But they ain't gonna tell us that. Why not? Because if they told us that, then the game will be over. They can't make these no more.
Let him cook.
I'm gonna let him.
No, I didn't. I wanted to tell you this one thing. If they call, that's a scam. They don't call. I'll call you back. All right. You're going to play this thing one more time. I got to get through this. Instagram don't let me rewind.
You gonna want to share this out with everybody that you know. That's a critical thinker. Now, back over here to Dred Scott. He was misidentifying as an African American. So the Supreme Court said, okay, since you want to be an African American, we're gonna rule that you're not a citizen. Look, the ruling also declared the Missouri Compromise unconstitutional, stating Congress could not prohibit slavery in the U.S. territories and that enslaved people were property. Damn.
Google that shit. I ain't lying to you.
Now you might say, I thought the Emancipation Proclamation freed the so-called slaves. Cap. The Emancipation Proclamation set up by Abraham Lincoln did not free the slaves. The Emancipation Proclamation, what it did was it commissioned slavery by voluntary consent.
All right, you guys. Get over the more stuff. Get out of here with that shit. We ain't talking about that. We talking about the language. We know there's no African Americans. Get past that. The African American that they're talking about is the Indian, is the copper-colored Indian, the American, the only American, or the first American. So voluntary consent. That's what we're dealing with. Just something that I'm just showing you that people do every day. They fill out a W-4V. Right? So this says purpose of form, if complete form W-4V, if you want the payer to withhold federal income tax from any of the government payments shown below. Unemployment, Social Security equivalent, common credit, so on and so forth. Right? So, let me see if it'll do this for me. Provide me, because I can't do it. I have to redact my information. That'll take too long. A sample participant child support notice. They ain't giving it to me. I have to show that. I have to show it. They won't show a bill. Let me see. See if it give me a bill. See if it give me a bill. Won't give me a bill. All right. Nevertheless, a lot of this stuff is participation. A lot of this stuff is voluntary. Give me the all right, so let me not digress. Let me get back on focus. What we need to really get with. And I'm going to touch on this a little bit. I touched on it yesterday on another brother channel. But my question was, so these companies, right, the East India Trading Company, so on and so forth, right, show how corporate charters evolved in federal authority and the connection with the indigenous nations in America. Connect this to the master protocol in my debate, right? So it says, charter companies, doctrine of discovery, land claims, federal authority. The cleanest way to explain this, first came papal and imperial claims on paper. Then came charter companies to act on those claims. Then came colonial governments. Then the United States inherited and repackaged those same claims as federal authority. We got doctrine of discovery, gave the paper title. Before companies could claim anything, Europe needed a theory to say Christian sovereigns could claim discovered lands, even where indigenous nations already lived, governed, and traded. Indigenous nations might keep occupancies, but Europeans claimed the higher title. This is the heart of the doctrine of discovery. Everybody talks about the doctrine of discovery, but this is the doctrine of discovery. This is what it did on paper. So let's keep going. That is the heart of the doctrine of discovery. Not that indigenous nations did not exist, but that European powers claimed a superior legal interest anyway. So they made a claim. But the claim has to be substantiated. And that claim could stand if there's no rebuttal to the claim or no counterclaim, no answer, no affirmative defenses or counterclaim to the initial claim. But if you see right here, where did this go? Where did this go? Now, I'm going to jump around a little bit because we're going to go back just real quick. We're going to go back to Justice Comey Barrett's question to Wang when she said, well, yeah, the courts, such and such, or she didn't say courts, but she said Congress did this in order to make them citizens and so on and so forth, natural, under the birthright. She said, but without statute. I mean, no, what'd she say? She said that was by statute, by statute, by statute. She said it 3 to 5 times. All right. So, so that is the heart of the doctrine of discovery. Not that indigenous nations did not exist, but that European powers claimed a superior legal interest anyway. This is important for my debate. I don't know why I did that. Debate is over. I just said just tie it to my debate. But I guess it didn't connect what I was really trying to say. It says discovery was never about actual possession first. it was about paper priority, right? First in line, first in time. This is why the Uniform Commercial Code is very important to them. And this is why the Uniform Commercial Code, in my opinion, supersedes the United States Code and anything other than the Uniform Commercial Code. I think it supersedes the Constitution. It was a legal fiction that let competing European powers say, this is ours first, even though they still had to negotiate with indigenous nations on the ground. So discovery gave Europe a claim against other Europeans, not immediate real control over indigenous nations. So why all these different groups, right? Since all these different groups of people, right? All these different groups. So here we go. We got the major East India companies, English East India companies, Dutch East India Company, French East India Company, Danish East India Company. Now in the Western Hemisphere, / American companies, Virginia Company, Massachusetts Bay, Dutch West, Hudson's Bay, Royal African Company. Okay? All these companies were here. Right? Doctrine of discovery. What's going on nonetheless? I'm going to put the link in the chat just a minute. I want to set the table real quick so we can cook and eat, you know. So charter companies were the enforcement arm of discovery. Once monarchs claimed lands by discovery, they needed someone to go there, i.e., now this is the 1600s. It's not 1400s. So Christopher Columbus, out the picture. This is the 1600s. This is where you get up into your James Adair and some of these other people that they have these Catholic schools by Junipero Serra, St. John Bosco. You have a lot of these saints and all these other people, John Eliot. You have all these different groups of people that came over here. And my question yesterday, nonetheless, on Smoke, when I was asking the people, I was like, look, what was the major purpose of missionaries? Was it really to teach them the Christian way, or was it for them to learn the indigenous way? Now, we can use James Adair, and somebody say, well, that's kind of fake. Well, if he's fake, then everybody else is fake. But his findings was learning the people. And just like Christopher Columbus, they have found, and they was in search for who? The original people, the chosen people, the Indios, the children of God in Paradise Island. Right? So, if that's the case, what really happened? We just established the fact that, per se, that this doctrine of discovery, and that you can do any other doctrine for that matter, just like in the plenary doctrine, that a lot of these things were done administratively and capriciously without any type of judgment or review. By whom? By the third level of the branch, which is your judicial. You see? Now, let's get back to this. Go there, trade there, build forts, make deals, extract wealth, and gradually convert paper claims into actual control. I mean, that's kind of like a bombshell right there. That's a bombshell. So all this time that the United States and everybody keep talking about the United States and the Republic and so on and so forth, there had to be a shadow behind them that came over here as a so-called handler that had intentions involved, because most of the people that was coming over here were actually servants. No sovereign nation was coming over here. These were companies. It just said it. Do I need to go back? No, I don't need to go back. I need to scroll up just a little bit. That is where the companies come in. All right, so let's get it, because I couldn't get there yesterday. Nonetheless, I couldn't get there. You know how I get on that show. Everybody get busy and they want their voice to be heard. So, so all these come in. These companies were basically private corporations with delegated sovereign powers. They could often make treaties, raise militias, build settlements, govern colonists, claim land, regulate trade. Now, these bullet points right here pretty much talk about the actual 13 colonies and what they was doing in those colonies. So in those colonies, it wasn't really about them fighting the indigenous people. It was actually them fighting amongst themselves, and then trying to get the indigenous people to get involved. Because prior, the indigenous people was robbing them. We'll get into that. So the companies were not random businesses. They were chartered instruments used to transform discovery doctrine into territorial and commercial reality. And crucially, they still had to deal with the indigenous peoples. So all this stuff they were doing was outside of indigenous nations. Indigenous nations didn't know. They was doing their stuff on the inside. Sometimes, they probably come in and see what they can get and rob them, or, take advantage of the situation, because the product that they was receiving was from the indigenous nations. Why? Because of the land, the resources. Otherwise, we can agree on that. All right, I checked that nonetheless. I got you on that. Yeah, we'll get into that. Right. So they had to deal with the indigenous nations because on the ground, indigenous nations controlled rivers, controlled trade routes, controlled hunting grounds, could allow, limit, or destroy access. So what are these people and these companies doing over here and have control over? Nothing. What they're doing is trying to get on paper a deal with the indigenous nations, just like the Treaty of New York, 1775, where they're trying to deal with that. But we go even further than that. We're talking about the 1600s, where they're trying to connect with or get first in line, first in time, and getting contracts and putting in bids, right? When you put in the bid, you work on houses, you work on HVAC, you know what I'm saying? Whatever you're doing, you put in a bid. I'm accepting bids. So all these companies putting in bids to be first in line and have the priority deal with the indigenous nations. Now, is that far-fetched what I'm saying to you guys? Is that far-fetched what I'm saying to the people? That is actually something that took place during that time, not Indians doing the woo, 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 and dancing around a bonfire, smoking on a peace pipe with feathers in their hair. You see what I'm saying? So, charter companies did not prove European sovereignty. They proved the opposite. Europe needed corporate intermediaries because it lacked direct sovereignty in indigenous territory. Land claims came from this corporate colonial model, and I'm going to speed up a little bit so we can move forward. Now, connected to the land, the companies did not just trade, they mapped, patented, surveyed, sold, speculated, and created overlapping land claims on paper. This is how land claims work. Step 1, King or Crown says, by discovery, this region belongs to us. A company gets a charter saying, you may settle, govern, and profit here. The company issues grants, patents, or concessions to settlers/speculators. Those settlers then act like indigenous title is secondary or temporary. When conflict happens, Europeans claim the indigenous nation is in the way of an already existing title. That is the fraud structure. European paper first title, European paper title first, indigenous consent second, if at all. But in reality, the companies often could not use those claims unless tribes agreed, treaties were signed, trade alliances held, or military force was used. So it says, for your argument, land claims in America did not begin with lawful transfer from indigenous nations. They begin with charter paper claims layered over indigenous sovereignty. Now, I'm gonna go over here, and I'm going to I'm gonna put the link in the chat for you guys to come up. But what I want to do is I want to bring up my debate. I want to bring up my debate, and I want to deal with that because of what actually took place. All right, let's go over here. Where am I at? Bam. All right. Yeah. Let me come back over here. Let me bring the channel up real quick. Let's go to videos. All right. So this is mine. Yeah, let's bring it up. And we're just going to ride through it. I'll pause it. We'll do what we do. Let me go ahead and drop the link. And we get up in there. We'll drop the link, but we're going to comment. We're going to talk about this first before I put the video up. And let's, because I want to nonetheless come up and talk about what he put in the chat. Anybody else, Isness, if you're in there, you can come up as well. Repost it, put it on your thing. I know I had a late start, so I already know what it do today, so I ain't tripping. I got a late start, so let me put that up there. I'm gonna wait for a couple minutes, actually a couple seconds, and see if anybody hit the panel before I start searching. But in the meantime, let me go ahead and get this up. Let me get this up. All right. So I'm going to check for you guys. We're going to put this up. I'm just going to do this anyway for the simple fact that I got a late start, so I'll take the hit for it. All right, let's go.
tell him anything because the past has disappeared and his father has no power in the world. This means, in the case of an American Negro, born in that glittering republic, and in the moment you are born, since you don't know any better, every stick and stone and every face is white, and since you have not yet seen a mirror, you suppose that you are too. It comes as a great shock around the age of 5 or 6 or 7 to discover that the flag to which you have pledged allegiance, along with everybody else, has not pledged allegiance to you. It comes as a great shock to discover that Gary Cooper killing off the Indians when you were rooting for Gary Cooper, that the Indians were you.
Now, this portion of it is very important. Now, the debate was pretty much pre-1925, right? Pre-1925. Nothing after 1925. And we focus on the Indian Citizenship Act because that is what you would consider to be a doctrine as well. That's why I wanted that to be very important. Now, obviously, this brother right here is way after 1924. But the point I'm making, I just want to break this down for you guys. Let me tell you how surgical I am with this. That I showed after the fact, after 1924, that what he's talking about in the 60s is the same problem that was going on. So nothing has changed. But he's talking about something, and he's raising a point that nothing has changed. And even in the 60s, with the Indian Citizenship Act, with the Civil Rights Act, and all the things that was going on, nothing ever changed. And he's saying that while we was rooting for Gary Cooper, that the Indians was you. So if he's made the statement that the Indians are not the Indians who people think Indians are, and he's talking about the same people in the same breath in regards to violations of what you pledge allegiance to that hasn't pledged allegiance to you, I'm breaking it down common sense wise so you will understand exactly what's going on. See, this is where people get too smart for their own good. You can't go past this. You cannot go past the fact that in this statement, right, in this presentation, you know what I'm saying?
It comes as
You see, and right there, everybody is laughing. They're grinning and laughing. They know who we are, but we don't. We say we are something, but we can't explain it. And we still using these same talking points as a part of that narrative. Now, what I'm going to present this event is that not only did the indigenous nations of North America did not participate in the United States, the indigenous nations of North America were systematically through the courts and acts to execute plenary powers, and we'll get into what that means, to erase the parity, we'll get into what that means, of the indigenous nations. I will use multiple sources and various angles to properly show how advanced the indigenous American nations were and why it was an impossibility for those nations or those people to participate in the United States.
Now, I just read that ChatGPT. I also read, I didn't read, but I also played the oral argument last week. At no point in time in the oral argument, they mentioned Black people. At no time they mentioned African Americans. At no time they mentioned Negroes. At no time they mentioned color. The only people they mentioned were Indians. And I'm talking about they, the justices. Outside of that, they mentioned foreign nationals. So Yeah. But people are going to talk about everything else. This is what you call plausible deniability. Or I could just not even respond. But my silence is not agreement. But remember, as I showed in this chat GPT, is that the doctrine of discovery was on paper. And it even stated if the indigenous people was involved at all, did they even know about it? Was they doing this? These people are all making claims amongst each other. Nah, it's mine. Nah, it's mine. You carving out this, you get that, you get that. And yeah, we do this, do that. Next thing you know, they come into a position.
For example.
Now I'm gonna get past this one. Now here you go.
Now, the one I got past, well, this guy had said in this one, you guys should, everybody looked at this, but one thing that I caught, what the guy said, is that he was in a barber shop. He was in a barber shop. And they were talking about certain type of things. They were talking about actually Robert Kennedy Sr. And Robert Kennedy Sr. is running for president. So the barbershop guy tells him, he was like, wait a minute, we got an issue. So what's the issue? Well, Robert Kennedy just got over here. And all of a sudden, he is running for president. But in his own voice, he says that maybe in 40 years, we could become president. As a matter of fact, I'm going to find that clip. That was cold. Hey, what's going on? I'm going to find that clip real quick. Let me find that clip.
Peace, Aton.
Hey. Let me find that clip. Let me do this real quick. Anything? You can have at it. What's this brother's name? Wow, I always forget his name. Who is that? What's his name?
You talking about the guy who was just talking, Baldwin?
Yeah, there you go, Baldwin.
Baldwin. His first name.
Yeah. Baldwin debate.
James Baldwin.
James Baldwin, yeah. Versus, yeah, there you go. Yeah, I'm gonna find this thing real quick. Oh, let me do the little open up link. Bam.
Well, while you looking that up, I do want to highlight what you just said, that they did not mention Black people, Negroes, coloreds, or anything of that sort. So they didn't mention Africans.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't mention anything. So obviously there's more to the story. I think everybody's barking up the right tree.
Thank you. I mean, it's gonna be hard though, isn't it, for us to be able to, shake those shackles of them titles. I mean, that's why, that thing that came across my feed with that one brother, light-skinned brother, that was talking about, voluntary, and that's what I say. And even, Kanye even said it. He said slavery is voluntary. And a lot of people didn't grasp what he was saying. It was how you
Man, they got mad at him. And it looks like those other people made sure that we were mad at him over that, because he was busting down a barrier right there. He bust down the door. He threw open the door right there. And TMZ, all those people tried to make sure that every Black person was mad at him over that. But But you're right. Go on.
No, yeah, yeah. But let me bring up the one because I don't want to butcher it. I want to bring up exactly what Baldwin was saying. I want to bring up exactly what he was saying. This is interesting that he said it too. And I was just doing that in the sake of time. That let me get this up.
I also want to say while you're looking that up
Mhm.
that I think they purposely left out the discussion of Africans, even though it might be a misconception. Because one of the things that the ACLU attorney was talking about is how um, only white people could be naturalized. But that's not true because they had that, like a few years later, they naturalized Africans. So,
Right.
and she didn't bring that up. She was like, "Oh, only white people." Like she's trying to make it seem like there was some racist thing, but that's not true. And she purposely almost like misled the courts or people listening to make it seem that, it was a white thing. There was a naturalization of Africans. So why is the Indian not taxed? And then why didn't they even bring it up?
Right. That was interesting how she just kept uh she was being deceptive in that, but she already knows that that's a red herring and that's something that is very colorable. Nobody can really say what a white person is, unless you look at the naturalization of things. So yeah, I get it. Yeah, okay. I
And I just want to just really make that point. If this thing was supposed to be really about us and we're supposed to be the Africans were already naturalized in like early 1800s or something like that. So obviously, there's more to that particular story that she just didn't want it. Nobody wanted to go into.
okay. Well, let me ask you a question. So would those Africans be Africans of the roots slave trade, West African slave trade, or are these some other type of Africans?
I mean, they could have been Elon Musk Africans. But whatever it was, they used the term Africans and not, whatever, not white people of anywhere. You know what I mean? The first one was talking about white people, and the second one was talking about Africans or people who descend from Africa. Who those people are, I don't know, but those people were already naturalized.
Right.
And that lady, that ACLU, didn't bring it up because she's I don't even know. I don't know. You can figure it out for me.
That's confusion. Yeah, that's the confusion part. So because she knows that there's a great mass of people considered to be African American that they don't want to wake up to that. A bunch of African Americans find out that they're not African at all, and that's just a term that's utilized as some type of racial group and not really the actual people and their origin. Yeah, they're going to be a little bit pissed. A lot of them might jump out the window because they didn't sold their people out. All right, let's check this out.
It would seem to me that the proposition before the House, if I put it that way, is the American dream at the expense of the American Negro, or the American dream is at the expense of the American Negro, is a question. It is.
You see that, isn't it? That's a hell of a topic. Is the American dream at the expense of the American Negro? That could be taken so many different ways, but I take it like this. The expense, meaning we paying for it. So with these companies, right, like I showed in the ChatGPT thing, like you got all these companies coming over here on the other side, and then you have what they say east, and then you got the West India trading companies. You got all these companies coming over here trying to get in line to do business with the indigenous nations and their commodities and resources. Who fit in that bill?
loaded, and that one's response to that question, or one's reaction to that question, has to depend on an effect on where you find yourself in the world, what your sense of reality is, what your system of reality is. That is, it depends on assumptions which we hold so deeply as to be scarcely aware of them. A white South African, or a Mississippi sharecropper, or a Mississippi sheriff, or a Frenchman driven out of Algeria, all have, at bottom, a system of reality which compels them to, for example, in the case of the French exile from Algeria, to defend French reasons for having ruled Algeria. The Mississippi or the Alabama sheriff, who really does believe when he's facing a Negro boy or girl, that this woman, this man, this child, must be insane to attack the system to which he owes his entire identity. Of course, for such a person, the proposition of which we're trying to discuss here tonight does not exist. And on the other hand,
that's crazy. He said he's looking at the Negro boy, girl, you know what I'm saying, the woman, the man, or whatever, that they're actually, man, let's play that again. This is cold. I'm just letting you guys into my mind. This is how I look at things.
Higher identity. Of course, for such a person, the proposition of which we're trying to discuss here tonight does not exist. And on the other hand, Algeria, the Mississippi or the Alabama sheriff, who really does believe when he's facing a Negro boy or girl, that this woman, this man, this child, must be insane to attack the system to which he owes his entire identity.
Is he talking about the Negro boy, girl, the man or the woman, or is he talking about the sheriff? See, he's trying to figure out why, this is how my mind thinks. He's trying to figure out why this sheriff, because obviously this is a pale skin of some sort, that he's actually trying to figure out why this Negro is acting in a certain way outside or different from what he owes his whole identity to. That's a powerful statement right there.
Of course, for such a person, the proposition of which we're trying to discuss here tonight does not exist. And on the other hand, I have to speak as one of the people who've been most attacked by what we must now here call the Western or the European system of reality. What white people in the world, the doctrine of white supremacy, I hate to say it here, comes from Europe. That's how it got to America. Beneath then, whatever one's reaction to this proposition is, has to be the question of whether or not civilizations can be considered as such equal, or whether one civilization has the right to overtake and subjugate and in fact to destroy another. Now what happens when that happens? Leaving aside all the physical facts which one can quote, leaving aside rape or murder, leaving aside the bloody catalog of oppression, which we are in one way too familiar with already, what this does to the subjugated, the most private, the most serious thing this does to the subjugated, is to destroy his sense of reality. It destroys, for example, his father's authority over him.
This is the part right here. This is one of them.
His father can no longer tell him anything because the past has disappeared, and his father has no power in the world. This means, in the case of an American Negro, born in that glittering republic, and in the moment you are born, since you don't know any better, every stick and stone and every face is white, and since you have not yet seen a mirror, you suppose that you are too. It comes as a great shock around the age of 5 or 6 or 7 to discover that the flag to which you have pledged allegiance, along with everybody else, has not pledged allegiance to you, It comes as a great shock to discover that Gary Cooper killing off the Indians when you were rooting for Gary Cooper, that the Indians were you. It comes as a great...
That got me right there. I was like, are they chuckling? That's crazy.
Great shock to discover that the country, which is your birthplace and to which you owe your life and your identity, has not in its whole system of reality evolved any place for you. The disaffection, the demoralization, and the gap between one person and another, only on the basis of the color of their skins, begins there and accelerates throughout a whole lifetime. So that presently you realize you're 30 and are having a terrible time managing to trust your countrymen. By the time you are 30, you have been through a certain kind of mill. And the most serious effect of the mill you've been through is, again, not the catalog of disaster. The policemen, the taxi drivers, the waiters, the landlady, the landlord, the banks, the insurance companies, the millions of details, 24 hours of every day, which spell out to you that you are a worthless human being. It is not that. It's by that time you've begun to see it happening in your daughter or your son or your niece or your nephew. You are 30 by now, and nothing you have done has helped you to escape the trap. But what is worse than that is that nothing you have done, and as far as you can tell, nothing you can do, will save your son or your daughter from meeting the same disaster and not impossibly coming to the same end. Now, we're speaking about expense. I suppose there are several ways to address oneself to some attempt to define what that word means here. Let me put it this way, that from a very literal point of view, the harbors and the ports and the railroads of the country, the economy, especially of the southern states, could not conceivably be what it has become if they had not had, and do not still have indeed, and for so long, so many generations, cheap labor. I am stating very seriously, and this is not an overstatement, that I picked the cotton and I carried it to market and I built the railroads under someone else's whip for nothing. For nothing. The Southern oligarchy, which has until today so much power in Washington, and therefore some power in the world, was created by my labor and my sweat, and the violation of my women and the murder of my children. This, in the land of the free and the home of the brave. And no one can challenge that statement. It is a matter of historical record. In another way, this dream, and we'll get to the dream in a moment, is at the expense of the American Negro. In the Deep South, you are dealing with a sheriff or landlord or quite who she's dealing with, by which I mean that if you're not part of the town, and if you are a northern, so she won't talk to you, you have to wait for a while to get your telegram. Okay, we all know this, we've been through it, and by the time you get to be a man, it's very easy to deal. Is this, they've been raised to believe, and by now they helplessly believe, that no matter how terrible their lives may be, and their lives have been quite terrible, and no matter how far they fall, No matter what disaster overtakes them, they have one enormous knowledge and consolation, which is like a heavenly revelation. At least they are not black. Now, I suggest that of all the terrible things that can happen to a human being, that must be considered, no one can be dismissed as a total monster. I'm sure to use the club, to menace with the gun, and to gaslight. What happens to the man who does it is in some ways much examined too closely, with a certain kind of social coherence, which calls itself a civilized nation. Any American Negro watching this,
I'm trying to find when he's talking about Robert Kennedy. Be patient, none of your business.
no matter where he is, from the vantage point of Harlem, which is another terrible place, has to say to himself, in spite of what the government says we can't do anything about it. But those are white people being murdered in Mississippi work farms, being carried off to jail. Those are white children running up and down the streets. The government would find some way of doing something about it. We have a civil rights bill now. We had an amendment, the 15th Amendment, nearly 100 years ago. I hate to sound again like an Old Testament prophet, but if the amendment was not honored then, I don't have any reason for believing the civil rights bill will be honored now. And after all, one's been there since before, a lot of other people got there. If one has got to prove one's title to the land, isn't 400 years enough? 400 years, at least 3 wars. The American soil is full of the corpses of my ancestors. How is it conceivably a question now of Alabama sheriffs and poor American sense of reality has been corrupt Americans abroad? And these are my come in Tennessee. And what that means. No Englishman knows that, no Frenchman, no one in the world knows that except another black man who comes from the same place. The problem in America is that we've been integrated for a very long time. Put me next to any African is simply to accept our history.
Man, I can't find it. I thought I had that thing timestamped. But anyway.
Yo, salute to the gods. Y'all hear me? What's going on? Mic check.
What's happening? Let's go.
All right, what's up, bro? Hey, Ennis, how you doing, sweetie? Hey, go ahead, bro. I just want to make sure my mic was good. Peace.
Yeah, you good. No, go ahead. Let me go ahead and find the one part. I mean, it was just interesting.
Still looking for the part?
Yeah, I was looking for. I ain't about to bring this back up. I'm about to take this down.
All right.
But I was actually looking for the part where he actually mentioned about Robert Kennedy.
He actually said something, bro. I find quite interesting, bro.
He said a lot in this thing.
Yeah, he said a lot, but something caught my ear right before you paused it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I never thought of that, but that's why I like listening to this stuff, because I look for little stuff to put the puzzle pieces together. But he said something very interesting, bro. I'm gonna have to remember that. When he said about the 400 years, right? He said that it shouldn't take 400 years to prove that we are the title holders for this land, bro. So that means that the 400 years that started from them assuming that we was here, right? And they already knowing it. To now we gotta prove it, and that's significant, bro. So now you gotta prove it. It's been 400 years before these foreign entities took claim, saying that they had a claim, whether is right and exact or not. You know what I mean? It's like somebody claimed it, and now we have to prove it because of how they step foot over here. Now they have a claim, so now it's a conflict of interest. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And it's been a conflict of interest, because when you talk about jurisdiction, right? This is where they get us at, because the jurisdiction thereof means that when you have a controversy, right? That's really what these courts are set up for. When you have a controversy or claim or disagreement, for the most part, we settle those within our own families, right? If two people have a disagreement, I say almost 100% of the time we settle that without the courts. You see what I'm saying? Because that's in between. That's our business. That's a private matter. You know what I mean? It might just take a simple apology, or somebody making you whole when you have a disagreement, or somebody does damage to something that is rightfully yours. The problem comes in when you have someone outside of that trespasses. Or we might take matters and say, okay, you came across here, you did damage, or we have an injured party. Where are we going to settle those disputes at? You see what I'm saying? Especially if a foreigner does something or we do something. Because they quick to do that to us. See, for example, right? How many times have you heard this stupid ass, bullshit ass, fucked up ass story about, oh, one of y'all people was over here and they bumped in to one of our white women, or they whistled at a white. You feel me? They're looking for what? A reason.
Right.
To take jurisdiction, because now it's a conflict. It don't even have to be true. It could be a lie. Somebody says something, and now all of a sudden they taking their people word for it. And now a riot bumps out, all because of a lie, or somebody says something that's foreign to our jurisdiction. But we were settling all of our conflicts in a foreign jurisdiction.
Mr. Robert Kennedy.
Go ahead. You was playing something? Hello?
Oh, you heard that?
Yeah, I heard it. I thought you was playing. You see. So when you take on foreign titles, that becomes a conflict, bro, because that's not originally who you are. You know what I mean? And they accepted it. That's why when we say these names, once you accept it, it becomes a conflict, bro. Because why? You have something called consent. You're giving them consent. That's why I gave you read that document I gave you, right? Without consent, that gives them jurisdiction to give them power of attorney without consent, bro.
Or,
Yeah, go
or,
ahead, sis. Go ahead.
okay.
Hmm.
Or, for jurisdiction to be established, there has to be a dispute, right? And so, as long as we agree to their terms, there's no dispute. We're consenting to everything. And so, that's the reason why, we're always in a mess. It's because we never established that there is a dispute on whatever is happening here. Whether, there's a 400-year land claim that's not being honored or anything, because as long as they create the definition and then we scoot ourselves into those definitions, we're consenting to everything that they're saying, just like the whole African American thing, that they defined what that means. And so, as long as we agree to that, there is no dispute. And so, you need a dispute for jurisdiction to be established and for a claim to be made.
Exactly, bro. Exactly. That's what I think a lot of people need to understand.
Exactly.
Man, that was beautiful, bro. You know what I mean? And see, I get motivated sometimes, bro, when I hear things and I see other people seeing the same thing I see, bro, because a lot of this stuff can't be taught, bro. You gotta know, you gotta see it. You feel me? A lot of stuff you gotta see with your own eyes. And it gotta be like, oh, I see what you know what I mean? And it takes some studying to do this. You know what I mean? So you can see what they're doing. It's not really that difficult. But I think people make it difficult because they want it to be the way that they envisioned it. But they're not looking from a, let's say, a military mind, because that's how these people think, bro. They think from death, military, and force. They're not thinking from a natural family and love, you know what I mean, and doing the right thing by people. They don't give a rat's ass about that. You know what I mean? They're here to deceive, to get you to fall into their jurisdiction, and once they get it, they're never gonna let it go. They like, I got you, bitch. You know what I mean?
Right.
once they get it. They're not letting it go. Because that's why they want you to talk in court. Because they trying to get jurors. They want you to put you in there. And after that, what they do? They sit there quiet and let you keep talking. When you know what they thinking in their mind when they let you talk? They like, this motherfucker already done gave me jurisdiction. He can say anything he want to say. But right now, I got jurisdiction over his ass. So I don't give a fuck what you say. You can say you an Indian. You can say you goddamn the angels drop, nigga. You gave me jurisdiction, so I'm gonna let you talk. You done. You feel me? That's how they looking at it. So you can say all these colorful titles all you want to. They don't give a shit about none of that shit. They got jurisdiction, and you gave it to them, and you're not reestablishing yourself as an entity representing a quasi fake jurisdiction. Now you
Right.
got to reestablish that and let them, get them back. Like, hold up. I know you got thinking yourself. Oh, so now you got to switch your mind. Now is what they say? A meeting of the minds. Now, you know what I mean? Now the meetings of the mind battle comes in, where you got to be like, okay, you got to know what they thinking. So in your mind, you should be thinking this. Oh, this motherfucker think he got jurisdiction over me. This how you gotta think. And be like, okay, let me let this motherfucker know that he ain't smarter than me. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
Let me let this motherfucker know he dealing with the intelligent motherfuckers that's been here before his motherfucking people was even existed. Now I'm insulted. You feel me? This is how you gotta think with these motherfuckers. You gotta outthink them and know that that you know, like, yeah, you got your little jurisdiction, bitch. But guess what? I'm about to let you know that you're not smarter than me. And I'm about to take it back from your ass and let you know who's the motherfucking real bosses out this motherfucker is. That's the meetings of the mind, folks. Real talk.
Now, so right here, I don't know when you came up, but I was doing this little ChatGPT thing, right? So this is these land claims through the corporate colonial model. So this was dealing with the East India and the West India trading companies that was going on at this time. So it was a whole breakdown of what they showed. So all this right here, you got all these things going on that they're doing, right? Step one, King of Crown says by discovery, this region belongs to us. Company gets a charter saying you may settle, govern, profit here. Company issues grants, patents. The settlers then act like indigenous title is secondary or temporary. When conflict happens, Europeans claim indigenous nation is in the way of an already existing title. And it says that is the fraud structure. European paper title first, indigenous consent second, if at all. So all this colorable things that you're talking about, all the paper acts that are going on aren't even involving indigenous nations at this time. You see what I'm saying? But it says in reality, the companies often could not use those claims unless tribes agreed, treaties were signed, trade alliances held, or military force was used. So it says land claims in America did not begin with lawful transfer from indigenous nations. They begin with chartered paper claims layered over indigenous sovereignty. Now, what Baldwin is saying is he's kind of saying that because he said, I built the railroads. He's saying, I built the railroads. I built this. I did that, so on and so forth, which he did, which we did, which he's saying he did. He's a representation. That's him saying he's a representation of the people. But prior to that, you can connect the dots back to when he was talking about William Cooper, that the Indians was you. Bring it all the way forward. That's the foundation being established. That's the foundation being established. So so all this paper thing, and today, nonetheless, seems like it's the same game going on. They just kind of shifted. It made it a whole lot simpler for them now because after the 1924 Indian Citizenship Act, shit just went plumb left, But let me pull this up real quick because I found it. Hold on, man. Hold on, man.
For example, when the ex-Attorney General, Mr. Robert Kennedy, said that it was conceivable that in 40 years in America we might have a Negro president. And that sounded like a very emancipated statement, I suppose, to white people. They were not in Harlem.
Now, people don't know Robert Kennedy is the brother of John F. Kennedy, and this is the 60s. This either this got to be the 60s because he started running for president after his brother was shot. So this is the 60s. Now he said 40 years. So you take 40 years from 65 when he was, when his brother was killed or allegedly, whatever. That's 2005, my people. That is 2005. Might. But they were damn near close. 2008. If we want to say Barack Obama was a black man because he looked the part, it was pretty much damn near close.
When the statement was first heard, and did not hear, and possibly will never hear, the laughter and the bitterness and the scorn which the statement was greeted. From the point of view of the man in the Harlem barbershop, Bobby Kennedy only got here yesterday.
Hey, that's it. That's all I want to. I just want to show that one on that one. I mean, so the man in the barbershop know that he just got here yesterday. I mean, hey man, say man. If everybody knows that Bobby Kennedy just got here yesterday in the 60s, that means what we dealing with today, man? Y'all help me out here. Y'all help me out. I mean, the dots is connecting here to me. How I look at things, I don't know, but I mean, what we looked at last week, basically, the presentation that I made in February, on top of that, going back, revisiting what this guy is saying, and then what this guy said. Where he at? What this guy's? I took him off, but the guy on the what the guy did in that little Instagram thing, talking about voluntary. What's
I think it is voluntary. I mean, if you look at, I'm going to go back to when you were playing the birthright citizenship, and the attorney said that the Chinese came to build the railroads. Now, that was a historical document that will be forever transcribed. And if there is no dispute, right? This will be taken as consent, as you were speaking, or as he was talking about earlier. And so here we are again, just kind of and we just saw it right in our face. As Baldwin says, we built the railroads. Like, it was already established that we built the railroad. That lady just came yesterday and is now standing in the Supreme Court saying that the Chinese built the railroads. So it's almost like it's our choice for our history to be rewritten, and we're constantly going back and we're digging up buried stuff, because as stuff gets buried, like the lady just talked about the railroads, we're not saying anything. We're not disputing any of this.
Right. You know how it's very important. It's very important what Isness is saying. There has been no attack on that. It just hasn't been addressed. And they're sitting there laughing in the background. They're not going to laugh in public, but they're laughing in the background saying these people don't even know who they are. We have fully have reached the pinnacle of where we wanted to be at this time. And I think they really believe it happened faster than what they thought it would. That we definitely do not know who we are. We're at war with each other. We're really at war with each other now. And now it's at this point in time, I mean, why would they stop? They could just go ahead and take it to the next level. And this is why the things were done like they have been done over the last, I would say, 20 years. I ain't even going back to the 90s and the 80s and the 70s. I mean, because at that time, I knew where they stood. There was no question. I knew where they stood. They came in front of my face. I knew where they stood. There was no question. No gray lines. Nobody coming in between. Everybody was FTP. And nobody trusted none of that. The only people that actually voted during that time were elderly people and people that had government, state jobs. They would go vote because they was in it. And most of the people that voted were women. But there was no doubt we knew who they were. There was no doubt they knew who we were. So I don't know, business. You know what I'm saying? They have pretty much, I would say, almost entirely perfected the plan. It took them a minute. Just think about it, though. I think they did it in less than 100 years. When you think about it, 1970s, 1978.
Well, that Indian, was it the Indian Civil Rights Act? Was
Yeah,
that
1968.
1925? Wait, what's the one from 1925?
That's the Indian Citizenship Act.
The Indian Citizenship Act. Since that has been enacted, then everything has been completely redone.
That's right.
That's when you
So,
start
yeah.
seeing the fires of the cities. People was moving around.
Right. And that was when they were able to change the currency and restructure government.
Right, through labor. Because the whole thing is, yeah, we didn't do anything about it, but we didn't know about a lot of this stuff was going on behind the scenes. And we was putting our full faith in the people that was representing us, and we didn't realize that they was secretly moving and against us, and they wasn't working for our best interest. See, we was trusting that the people that we was following what was actually putting our interests above the dominant societies plan. They was working with them instead of working for us. And that's what I think our people always had a problem with. We always had a problem with pinpointing the fact that we have sleeper cells within our own communities that's working against us. And once we get to that point where we see that these people are need to be, I'm harsh. I don't play that, bro. I'm like, y'all need to be put to death for that shit.
I already
Once,
know.
once,
I already know. I already
right?
know.
Because, bro, look, once when you have people that's representing them, that means that you have a duty to withhold to uphold the honor of our people. And when you when you oh my god, when you betray that, bro, you deserve capital punishment for that shit, bro. Because we're entrusting you with our birthright, bro. You know what I mean? With our treasury, with everything. And it's very easy for you to fall astray and say, "Oh, guess what? You go to our enemies and they offer you a deal saying, "Look, man, we'll have you rich and famous if you just do X, Y, and Z for us." And just tell your people that they are this. You see what I'm saying? And we follow right along. And they don't even put out the info till years later we finding out all this shit going on. Cause I can assure you that my mother and my father and my grandparents didn't know about this information that we know about right now.
And
You don't even know about Baldwin.
that's
All
our
they want,
only
you see what I'm
that's,
saying?
that's our only, and at this point in time, none.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up. It seemed like that's our only way out. It's our only way to the redemption because we was not involved with that. That's
Right.
constructive fraud.
Right. It is, bro. Because look, it's no reason why these people, the Congressional Black Card, you got the NAACP, which is ran by Jews, folks. Man, I'm a 70s baby, bro. I seen the transformation happen in my lifetime with my own eyes. I know that most of these freaking NAACP, they had a convention downtown Baltimore, bro. I'm on the subway and I see some white dudes that I was working with. My boss, they was on the thread. Like, where y'all coming from? They like, we come from the NAACP convention down at the convention center downtown. These was white men, and you know what I mean. So I wasn't aware of the what I know now, but it was just the answer just showing me, so I can put that piece of my wisdom and make what I'm studying now all make place from what my life studies, you know what I mean, without books and everything. I'm putting it all together and I'm like, these people been selling us out. It was right in front of our face, but we wasn't paying attention. You know what I mean? Because we didn't know what they was doing. We thought we could trust them. We're operating off of dignity, you know what I mean? Honor. They wasn't. And these are our own people that's doing this. They took the bag to sell us out. And I think our people still on this. Oh no, our people weren't doing. I'm like, bro, they still doing it today. And how can you blame these other nations, these Africans and everything, when you got our people over there selling them fucking what says selling them the fact that they can influence us from to buy in to we are from there. Our people are still doing this shit. I'm not talking about foreigners. We're talking about our fucking people doing this shit right now. Selling us out. Jesse Jackson wasn't no foreigner, but that nigga, he was selling us out. Let's come, but when he tried to switch back, they attacked him. Look what they did to Jesse Jackson Jr. Nobody talks about him when he got kicked out of Congress. They attacked him for the same shit that they doing in Congress right now. Do you hear Al Sharpton? Do you hear all these so-called black leaders coming to his defense? That's why when they was at his funeral, he said that I don't want to hear Obama, I don't want to hear none of it. He basically called them sellouts. Because I know. You know what I'm saying? Everybody, all the people said that's what we dealing with right now. These people selling us up the river with these fucking bullshit ass stories.
Right.
And I'm glad that our people are waking up to this shit, because the motherfuckers that we need to really deal with is our motherfuckers that got these microphones, these big platforms that's steady talking for us.
Right.
This the information that Aton bringing out right now. We should know this. This should be a part of the curriculum in every one of our children's schools. And you don't hear all they want to talk about Juneteenth. They want to talk about bullshit ass fucking the civil rights movement. They don't never say shit about any at fucking all. And it's not that hard.
Talk about it, man. Talk about it.
This is why I get pissed off. And it's not because I got a big fan, bro. I'm still finding cousins right now. I'm not bragging. I'm not here to say, prove nothing. But I'm on the phone with my cousin for 3 hours that I have talked. Now my sister always talk to him because he sell cars. And I was, so he been wanting to talk to me. But he like, yeah, man, grandma, because his grandmother and my grandfather are cousins, right? Real close. And she always wanted to see me because she was there when I was 18. Me and my grandma got into it, whatever. And I didn't see her since. Unfortunately, she passed. I didn't get to talk to her, but she lived to be 103. He was sending me the cake and all that, right? But he was talking about, our family in Philly. And he was like, yeah, our cousin lost the brownstone. We was in South Philly. Man, they sent him a letter, bro, in Philly, basically saying This how they talk to us. Basically saying we can do this the easy way or the hard way, but you're gonna sell this property to us. We're gonna give you 300,000. Now he done sold it, you know what I mean, like 5 years ago. Now they sell it, now those properties worth $1 million, bro. Basically saying they gonna use eminent domain. I found this out last week. I'm like, damn, all this stuff was happening. You know what I mean? But I'm just saying they still pulling the same bullshit, but you don't hear none of our leaders talking about none of this shit. How we was in these cities owning shit. From Harlem down to Philly, from Baltimore, from DC, down to Richmond. I can go down all these cities. All these cities you can get to within a day driving. So they're not that far from each other at all. You know what I mean? Down to North Carolina, South, all these people, all this stuff was our shit. I seen it. And he mentioned the railroads, the ports, you know what I'm saying? And all that stuff where people was working at. That's because that's where our fucking where a lot of those slaves, those Slavic people was coming over here working, but they was all ran and getting paid under the table from the fucking insurance companies. Because why? You can go back to the they talk about the orphan train, all of those people was under those railroad insurance companies, all the ports, everything. And they talk about, and these people want to hop on back when we was beefing real heavy with the Pan African, bro. They always talk about, oh no, they was indentured servants, and y'all was just slave. I'm like, nigga, they ain't want to talk to me, because I'll be like, nigga, oh, y'all talking about indentured servants? Okay, but they don't never want to talk about without indentured. Because there's always an opposite to everything. When they say when they say indentured service, you ain't gotta look. All you gotta do is know the principles. So if it's indentured, then it gotta be people over here without indentured. That's you know what I'm saying. That's why. So look, this is another thing that people got. You know what I mean. You got to keep looking, because when they say Indians not taxed, you got to know that where is the Indians that are taxed? You see what I'm saying?
Bingo.
Yeah.
That is a great point. If there's an Indian not taxed, then who's the Indian that is taxed?
Right. You see what I'm saying? And guess what? I'm batting. Look, hey sis, I'm batting 1,000 with doing it that way, because they always mention the one. But where is the contradict? Is always which one of the principles in science? But this is immutable. This is universal law. When there's an action, there's always what? An equal and opposite reaction. There's always a cause and effect. You see what I'm saying? Always. That's how the law works. It's always a remedy. It's always the opposite.
All right, let's
go ahead.
Let's go to this. Let's go back to this Comey Barrett and Wayne conversation. Let's bring this back up.
But if we think of use solely as tied to the territory, and we look at the exceptions as territorial in a sense, then, and so I take that point. But if we think of use solely
advocates at that time that Chinese people couldn't form a domicile in the United States, and he followed the English common law rule.
Ms. Mike, can I move? Oh, go ahead.
You already know what I'm about to say. She kept talking about Chinese. It's crazy.
I just wanted to ask you a question about how the exceptions fit within the general rule. You've called them exceptions, and some of the common law sources call them exceptions. So I take that point. But if we think of use solely as tied to the territory, and we look at the exceptions as territorial in a sense, then they seem kind of like natural outgrowths of that rule. And this is what I mean. And this is where I want your help with how the exceptions played out in practice. If you look at Indian reservations as unique places because Indians were quasi-sovereign, separate nations in the American system. If you look at occupied alien territory as territory that's outside the jurisdiction of the United States. And then if you look at the diplomatic exception, almost like diplomats and their children had little bubbles around them, like the embassy is really the territory of that country. And even when they're traveling around, they're all not subject to the jurisdiction by virtue of this territorial fiction. Are those just applications of the rule? And if they are, then what happens to alien enemies like the German spies in Ex parte Quirin, or what happens to Indians who are actually not on the reservation but maybe born, say, in Baton Rouge? How does the rule apply in those situations? Does it travel with the person, or is it tied in some sense to the land?
Okay, so we're going to address this. Territory. Hold on. I want to address it. I want to hear what she got to say.
So the example of extraterritoriality around
Important here to me. So, because there's a lot there. There's a lot there.
Sure. So let me answer each part in turn. So the thing that all of the exceptions have in common, again, is this sense that the person has this fiction of extraterritoriality around them. Let's set aside the Indian tribal exception for a moment and come back to it. So the example of enemy aliens, for example, ex parte Quirin, is one that is answered by Justice Story in both Inglis and in Rice. And the touchstone under the American application of English common law was that in wartime, the touchstone is whether there's a foreign occupation of US territory. So,
and that's just to interrupt for 1 second to
Sure.
clarify, and that is territorial. Sometimes it just seemed to me that the rule varied. Sometimes it was stated as enemy alien, and sometimes it was focused on occupied territory.
Sure. So the rule, I don't think there's a separate rule for enemy aliens, and the government's briefs describe the exception as an enemy alien exception. I don't think that is the best way to think about it. Rice and English tell you that when the British forces are occupying Castine, Maine, no one is subject to US jurisdiction there because Britain is governing Castine, Maine. And Justice Story explains, look, if the US then retakes that territory, babies who are born to US citizens by post limine become US citizens. So that's the way to think about any wartime situation, enemy, alien.
American isness.
Yep.
That's why I want to bring it back to you.
Well, the thing is,
I'm trying to figure out this jargon. What is she talking about? What's she talking about, sis?
well, it does. I mean, okay, she's talking about the Enemy Aliens Act. Okay, so let's put it in modern terms. They said the Trende de Agua. They made it an alien enemy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so she's really saying that it's not really true that they would have jurisdiction or they would be bound to both countries, which would be Venezuela. And I would argue the opposite of that because we just seen this with this Iranian guy who was over here. And as soon as that war popped off, he was subject to his foreign territory. And now he's bombing people. He cut off the Strait of Hormuz. He doing all kind of stuff right now. That
Right.
man was living in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
Mhm.
she's just lying. And so anyway, so that's how I'm taking it. She's saying that it is not true, even if it's an enemy alien, that they would not be subject to both jurisdictions. That's what what do you hear? Do you hear something different?
No, I'm trying to figure out what is she talking about. What I hear is two different jurisdictions, two different things going on. The Indian, and then this whole these justices trying to figure out the other part, like these foreign nationals, and now I know what the territorial fiction is. You got these embassies and these people coming in these embassies, and that embassy goes with them,
Right.
and you got to send them back to the embassy for whatever reason. But what I'm trying to understand is, how did an embassy a foreign national become part of the conversation of a birthright citizen.
Well,
And
this is
she's the
all.
she's
Well, okay, go on. What were you gonna say?
yeah, she's terrible. That's all I want to say. She's terrible.
Listen, what she's doing is like she's not even bringing up the historical context of why this amendment even came to be. So I think that's disingenuous, right? And she's pointing to this Chinese story, which from what I understand, she's even misinterpreting. And so and she's only bringing up the Chinese for the most part.
For the most part.
And
Yeah.
for the most part. And so and she's trying to play basically on heartstrings is because of that Chinese Exclusion Act, which I pointed out before. There was a reason why, because slavery was illegal in the United States and somebody wanted to continue to bring slaves, right? And so they just said, forget all y'all. And so she's not pointing that out. And so as she's okay, so they're talking about two different things without talking about us. They're talking about the nationals, which would have been that Wong Kim arc, right? The foreigners. And they're also talking about the Indian not taxed.
Okay.
None of the conversations about a Negro,
Right.
theoretically.
Right. So this to me sounds like, and this is why I be getting my conspiracy bag. This sounds like she's like legally, jargonly, if that's a word, extorting them right now. Like, you guys are illegals too. Show me your call. Show me your papers.
She is, because she'll be like, she was talking to Justice Alito, like they did with Italians. Like,
Yeah, she was sliding that up in there. What's she?
Well, they slid in the Aliens Enemies Act, and I think that's what threw everything off. You know what I mean? She went. She was talking so fast, then she said, "Well, with the Aliens Enemies Act," and then you got to think like, okay, well, who's alien enemies? Why would you have enemies over in an area that you are claiming as your jurisdiction? Wouldn't that cause a conflict?
well, the thing,
Okay.
okay, can I just say something to what you just
Yeah.
said?
Mhm.
Okay. Now, what the immigrants want is you can't tell them to leave no matter what type of person they are. They could be diabolical, they could be a warmonger. You can't tell them to leave at all. So she's trying to push it all into the conversation. So because you got to put it on record. So when they go back home or when they go and they do their deliberations, she's put it in there, because one of the things is the Trende de Agua, they're trying to say you, or like the Norteños and stuff, you can't tell them that they have to leave, even though they over here killing folks, right? You still don't have a right to tell them to leave. And so that is where the enemies, that because it is actually part of the conversation.
Okay.
But okay, can I say something real quick?
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, bro. What's up, bro?
What we're not factoring in here is the reason why this birthright citizen argument is so critical is because it's just what you just said. They have to get it to a point where everybody that's here can be here and there's nobody that can send them away. Because the actual truth is, all people that aren't Americans can be sent away. That's where they're at right now. They're only bringing this up for the simple fact that we're starting to realize who we are. Because only us, we can send everybody away. We can, the whole United States citizenship as a whole, we're the only people that can say, you know what, we cool with that shit. Because look what happened. We tried it, it didn't work. Everybody go home, start this shit over again. We're going to close the door, we're going to clean up. And then when you open the door again, y'all can get in line.
Because you could point to, I'll let you give it back to you. Because you could point to that clause that says with good moral character, right?
Right.
And there's
Right.
all kind of people that ain't acting in good moral character. Whether
That's
they
right.
just cheating on their wives, they not taking care of their kids, they lying on their taxes. People are just being nefarious all over the place. So literally within these boundaries, you could be like, it's time for y'all to go. Right. And you could use that good moral character. So now this is kind of getting into that good moral character. Because if
You
you
want me
an
to pull it up?
enemy,
You want me to pull it up?
yes, please.
All right.
Well, that goes into it goes into the same thing I was just trying to point out. All right. You got a situation here, right? Where you have people that came over to the states to work as indentured servants, right, or laborers, because they stopped the slave word, with the act of Congress and indentured servants. So they came over as laborers, right? So you got that group of people coming over to the United States, but you also have the people who are loyalists to the British Crown. These are the soldiers, because I think they don't really talk about this, but you gotta understand, if it was a war between the loyalists to the British and the United States, and they're trying to figure out, okay, well, who's loyal to the United States and our system as opposition to the royal crown. This is where their conflict is at, right? So if you stay right there, okay, if a conflict breaks out against the British loyalists and this new United States system, some of those people have to be put away. So that falls into that Aliens Enemies Act, right? Because now you have these British soldiers, after they get captured or they get overwhelmed by the United States military, these people get put away. They get put away in these ships called prison ships. Now that story has never been told. I don't know why nobody ever. I've been mentioning it for years. These people was put on the ships, and believe it or not, that shit is similar to that slave shit they trying to put on us, bro.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
the ships were stinking. They were rotting and
Yes.
dying on
Thank you. Thank you. So I'm glad somebody else is studying this like me. I'm like, yo, why ain't nobody talking about this? This shit is a joke. So,
Right.
so what
But
I'm
the
saying is,
problem,
but look, no, hold on. Let me close out with this. So you're seeing the same thing happen today, because now we can back it up, because this is why it's going on today, for us to pay attention so we can know what happened in the past. Now it's like, okay, are you are you loyal to us? This way the MAGA shit start breaking out. Are you loyal to the United States, or are you loyal to your foreign interests? Remember, a lot of these people are coming over to this country. They don't want citizenship. They're working for those people back home. You see how people come to our land and they working for their people back home, sending money, sending secrets. You know what I mean? Working, don't even want citizenship. They're like spies in here. We like, get the fuck out. Y'all, if y'all don't get the fuck out of here with that bullshit, you know what I mean? That's the people.
They're loyal to their bellies.
Okay, can I
Go ahead,
say?
sis. I just want to say it. Go ahead.
Can I just want to clarify? I do think that they want citizenships. They want all of our our rights and privileges, right? And they actually want our status, but they want it dually. So they
Not
want to
all
be
of them.
able to
Go ahead.
enjoy it here in the United States, but they also want to be able to have a dual citizenship back home. And they are spying on us, and they are here undermining us, but they still want that extra special status
Right.
of
I
an
mean, some of
American.
I give you a majority, maybe that's true, but a lot of them don't, because once you jump in, because they know the system. Once you get into, I'm for example, I was watching this interview with this man who was he was investigating the cartels, right? And the cartels has separate units. Separate people, one on the East Coast. I think one was located in like North Carolina. Then they had another one in Illinois, and they had another one in California. Now, these people who was distributors for the entire country, they did not want none of those people who were distributors to be citizens, because they knew they couldn't trust them then. But as long as they didn't have that citizenship, they knew that they could control them. You see what I'm saying? So that right
but
there,
that's only in the drug trade.
That's what I'm thinking that too, bro. But then I was like, what if it's not just for the drug trade?
No. Anything that's okay. This is where the fraud comes in.
Okay, yeah.
Because
Go ahead.
they have over the table frauds that bring in way more money than the under the table frauds. Shipping and handling is the only thing you can do as a government with the drug trade. But the money that comes in through taxes that they can shell out, they shell it out to bullshit situations that they know about. They bring in people that's not from here. Let's say the Somali. Let's use the Somali. All right. Boom. You brought them in here in the 90s. Boom. They got a little bit of piece of property. Okay. The government backed it, and they kept backing them, and they kept backing them. Why? Because all right, now I can scam with you. Nobody's the wiser. That's why the whole shit is so crazy, because it's going up the ladder. Up the ladder means that, okay, y'all understand the system. The system is get representation within voting, within your city or town or wherever the fuck you are. Boom, you get that. Now, boom, you're inside the system. Once you get inside the system, you rubbing elbows with the people who pass out the money.
Right, and creating laws and shit.
So as long as I'm passing out the money to him, I ain't passing out the money to you. I'm constantly getting your money.
I'm gonna pull up this alien.
It's a reason why.
Keep going. I'm gonna pull up this Alien Seditions Act. Keep going.
All right, but there's a reason why we're the $1.8 trillion consumer base. That means we're the $1.8 trillion a year of federal taxable income. That money that that they tax, they can send out to wherever they want. As long as we don't have no representation within the government, they send it to their people.
Fact.
So let's give
you got billions going on in you got billions of fraud going on in Minnesota. You got billions of fraud going on in California. You got billions of fraud going on in Texas. You got it going on in Florida. But it ain't going on in a small town. It can't happen in a small town. It can only happen in a big city.
Okay, because of what? Because of what?
Because we are taxable base in the big cities.
Yeah, it's too much bureaucracy and red tape in the big cities where it can be hidden. You can't hide it in small.
There. No, I'm saying we're there.
Right.
Our money that we send, we use, we work, pay taxes. We're the tax base for these cities.
Yeah, true.
So only thing they're doing is funneling the money that we bring in and send it out to where they need to send it out.
Hold that thought, Derek. Hold that thought. You got me thinking about something. But let me just deal with this, right? So, okay, so the Alien Seditions Act, 1798. Right? So we got this right here. This is the National Archives. Anybody want that? Now I'm gonna jump over here to Library of Congress. This is the Library of Congress. Now this right here says primary documents in American history. That's the 1798. See, a lot of people don't understand. That's why. Well, Isness is bringing this up. I think people really don't understand what this is really about. Right. So the Alien Seditions Act were 4 laws. Mute up, Derek. Mute up, Derek. I already know that's you. The Alien Seditions Act were 4 laws regulating aliens and restricting criticism of public officials. Now, we all know that we look at this every day today, that you actually have people criticizing public officials, but it's actually public officials who are encouraging and funding, allegedly, these groups. Right? So this guide provides access to digital materials. All right, so here we go. So this is how it was enacted. John Adams, 1798. 4 laws passed by the Federalist controlled Congress as America prepared for war with France. These acts increased the residency requirement for American citizenship from 5 to 14 years. Ain't got nothing to do with no adults. Authorized the president to imprison or deport aliens considered dangerous to the peace and safety of the United States and restricted speech critical of the government. These laws were designed to silence and weaken the Democratic Republican Party. Negative reaction to the Now, here are some links right here. So these links right here, I'm going to copy it and I'm going to put it in the chat. But this right here is an act supplementary to and to amend the act instituted. I never seen that word before. An act to establish a uniform rule of naturalization and to repeal the act heretofore passed on that subject, Naturalization Act, 1 Stat 566. An act concerning aliens. An act respecting alien enemies. An act in addition to the act. The hell, man, this is what I'm saying. Sheesh. Nothing can get done when you got the act to the act to the act to the act. But you have something saying the act respecting alien enemies. So under the circumstances, right? Now, this is my criticism of the present administration. I ain't going to say one individual by name, but they know that these people are alien enemies by definition. How they speak against, how they work against, how they actually utilize the government for their own endeavors. You know, I'm talking over the surface, y'all, so don't hold me to it. I'm going to talk on surface. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. But ain't nobody been arrested in the public, right? In the public, none. In the
Well,
public.
they have arrested people who have
We
criticized.
haven't seen it though, Isness.
Okay.
We haven't seen it.
All right.
So it's not in the public. Now, that is where you get into the conspiracy. I can go conspiracy theory all day long with you. I won't have, man, we could be up here for hours and I just enjoy it. But under the circumstances, this is my point. They fall under the guidelines, right? The administration ran on this. This was one of the things, fake news, and the fact that you actually have people that have been caught. They said, we caught them all. They have been caught. There's things that have been put on the table that has not been shown in the public. Why is that? That's a rhetorical question. But these are the things, I'm going to put these in the chat. We ain't going to go too far on that. I'm going to put these in the chat. But the other thing is in this is Britannica. So they say it differently here. It says 4 internal security laws passed by the U.S. Congress. You see right here, it says that the Alien Seditions Act consists of 4 laws passed by the Federalist controlled Congress as America prepared for war with France. Now, this is saying that laws passed by the U.S. Congress restricting aliens, curtailing the excesses of an unrestrained press. More detail. In anticipation of an expected war with France. You know what I'm saying? I'm telling you, this shit get kind of different.
But the only alien enemies the United States ever had was the Confederacy.
Yeah, but right here in the second paragraph, it says right here, the 3 alien laws passed in June and July were aimed at French and Irish immigrants who were mostly pro-French. These laws raised the waiting period for naturalization from 5 to 14 years, Derek. These ain't grown people, these are children.
Okay, who are the first people to come here?
It doesn't matter. These are dealing with children. So what all of the see, this is what I'm saying about the whole narrative and what this Wang is talking about in this thing is this oral argument is nothing but some made up stuff in order to get people to focus on some individual and to pull on heartstrings. But at the end of the day, the justices have been completely asking them about the children. This is about the children and
the first people to come here.
The parents bringing them over. That's an example. But what I'm saying,
No, they orphans. You talking about orphans?
Yeah, but that's the orphan train. But this is the point, though. That's an example because what they're talking about is that these are allegedly parents. These are parents who are slaves bringing their children over here. But you remember during the whole other administration where they was catching people that was actually bringing people over here, wasn't even the mama or the daddy.
Well, they was catching people, but remember, bro, we old enough to remember this. They was putting a lot of their parents in these insane asylums. No, Trump trying to reopen them shits. That's why you see what they trying to do now, saying, oh, they just mentally insane and all this other shit.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
You saw that this is what actually man, I keep forgetting this guy's name. What's the brother's name? The guy I just put up there. What's his name, Isness? What's his
Baldwin?
Baldwin. All right, so look. So Baldwin is talking about insane, right? He mentioned the word insane.
Yep. There you go. Yeah, go ahead.
The sheriff is looking at the Negro child, the mother, the father, as insane. If they're insane, that means they can do what? They can actually separate them, i.e., CPS.
Yep.
All right. So we getting somewhere here, but everything else is conjecture. What Wang is doing coming in there, and she want to talk about this guy, this Korean, in this case law. But really, what they're trying to show her is like, how can you expect to win in this situation when you haven't even addressed the main issue? This had to deal with the children of slaves.
Yeah, but the question
here it is right here. Here it is.
What children of slaves? What children of slaves?
Foreigners.
Right. The orphan train.
Foreigners.
Because the orphan trains happened right after the 14th Amendment. Period.
Now, the other aspect of it, right, in this area right here, right? Well, with me. Now, it says the Sedition Act banned the publishing of false or malicious writings against the government and the inciting of opposition to any act of Congress or the president.
Right.
Malicious writings.
Only thing they're doing right now is separating. That's it. All the way up until they get to the amendments, like the 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, and 17th. They had already separated the government.
Now, was this possible, right? Let me address this to Americanism. Was because she brought up the Alien Enemies Act, right? So was this possibly these other, like France and these other places, the Irish people coming over here exposing the government?
No.
Their business?
No. I believe that all the population of the Confederate population after 1865 became that enemy, that alien enemy.
American Indians, you there?
If you look at it, what are they? Because, okay, even with the 14th Amendment, they tell you that they freed the slaves. That wasn't the whole population of the South. That's a few million people. It's hundreds of millions of people. At least 100. Think about it. So none of these people is under the 14th Amendment.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
No, sorry about that. Sorry about that, none of y'all. You know, when I got my full screen, I can't see the thing.
Now, all the rest of the population at that time would be alien enemies to the United States government. Why? Because they're used to a whole nother life.
All right, so I mean, but I get that. But if I'm looking at this thing right here, right? If I'm looking at this right here, what I don't see is anything having to deal with indigenous people, right? The only thing we get close to, the Sedition Act made it a crime for American citizens to print, utter, and publish any false, scandalous, and malicious writing about the government. Then right here, they're talking about Democratic Republicans. But they're talking about Democratic Republicans.
But that's what okay, you got to think, the United States at that time, they had to be either one. Because the Republic, that represented a whole nother part of the whole shit. Is because the Republican and the Republic, that was the Indian nation, separate at that time. They're all under confederacies, so that's the Republic.
Right.
Democrat is the United States.
Man, where you at? Where you at?
So
where you at, Derek? Why you got all that? Why you got all that behind you, bro?
Ain't behind me. That ain't me.
Who is that?
Oops.
You said oops. My bad.
No,
my bad.
This is what I'm saying. Like, we have to look at the history of this country being separate. The United States is a DBA to the American corporation. If we can understand how to look at that like that, okay, let's see how this company grew.
Yeah, but I mean, that's not rocket science.
But
I mean, at the end of the day, if it's a DBA, let's say it's a subsidiary, it's a DBA of the actual United States, then you have
the United States is a DBA of the American corporation, which is
right.
America.
But there is nothing that we know of that's called an American corporation. We have the United States of America. Is the American corporation actually a corporation? That will be considered to be the whole entirety of America? No, I don't see it.
The American corporation, quote unquote, right, is what you call the free trade.
Yeah,
it's a corporation. It's a corporation for the simple fact that it can allow all and any kinds of trade. It's been around that long. Now, what the United States did was, from a DBA standpoint, is only thing they did was say, okay, I'm going to become the property manager of the American corporation.
Right.
So look, once they became the property manager of the American corporation, only thing they did was fast forward a generation or two, right? And then, okay, this the plan.
I don't know about that.
We'll implement. Okay, look at the timeline. Here, check it out. 1871, Reconstruction, right? 1913, the 16th and 15th, 16th, and 17th Amendments was enacted.
Yo, I'll be back. I gotta make a phone call. Be back.
1865 is the 14th. 1830 is the 13th. So now all these acts didn't come into play until 1933.
Yeah, I mean, okay.
We didn't know, think about it. The whole American Indian nation didn't realize that they had become citizens in the United States until 1924.
Yep, they've
been Americans. That's all they knew. Only thing you would call me was a nigga. What? Okay, but I'm still an American, motherfucker. You came here. I know you came here. Matter of fact, I remember when your papa got off the boat.
Right. Go ahead, get back.
Yeah, no, I was agreeing with bro. They was basically saying some could leave and some could stay. And if you leave, I guess you being a part of your nation, and if you stay, you become a United States citizen or some shit. I don't know. But all that shit is just bullshit, bro.
The 13th, look, we could look at the 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, and 17th Amendments. Within the time frame that they happened is when all of this shit changed. Because the 15th Amendment is the starting of the Federal Reserve, central bank, boom. Okay, the same year, the 16th Amendment. This is the amendment that made everybody pay taxes, man to man, to the government. Boom.
Yeah,
the 17th Amendment.
no.
Hold on. No, what? No, what?
No, hell no. You said made everybody pay taxes?
That was the 16th Amendment is that. Look it up. Before then, man to man was not taxed in the United States.
Okay, when was the 16th Amendment brought into play?
1913. 15th, 16th, and 17th, all in the same year. And the 17th is really the most important one.
Okay, so
that's when the senator was not elected by the state.
You're talking about 11 years before. You're talking about 11 years before the Indian Citizenship Act. So, What do you mean by everybody?
What do you mean everybody?
You said everybody. You said everybody.
Yes, this is the amendment, right?
Yeah, but at the end of the day,
everybody taxable. Now,
I'm talking about. My main thing right here, and what I'm doing is trying to stamp. There's a difference between the American Indian, the indigenous people, and United States citizens.
Right.
Foreign nationals, because they were all foreign nationals under subrogation, indentured servitude to sovereign that actually had treaties and agreements with the indigenous nations over here. That's the point I'm trying to make here, Derek.
I understand that point, and it still
stands. All right, don't set me back, though. Don't set me back.
No. It still stands. All of that is all together in play today.
All right.
That's why they tell you have a choice, because you've always had a choice. Because
so in 1913, right? In 1913, right? This is 11 years prior to 1924. And even in 1924, when the act passed, it usually takes 5 to 10 years for the shit to be enforced.
For what to be enforced?
And on top of that, these acts that are done are not even being reviewed by by Article 3, by the judicial branch. These things are actually being done. This is why I want to show what this sister was doing Justice Amy Coney Barrett was talking about when she tried to bring in this Congress thing, where she said by statute.
That's what an amendment is.
Does not have to do with us. This is what I'm trying to do, is what I was trying to tell is this. Look, we got to be able to separate the two. And we keep talking about things that do not apply to us that actually put us back into slavery, that put us into voluntary servitude and peonage.
But
even though it might be illegal, it's still involuntary servitude and peonage. And on top of that, they know, and they're saying this in this oral argument, amongst other things they've been saying over the last couple of years, that the Indians are not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. I mean, how much more plain can that be?
We understand that. We do. I do thoroughly.
Conversations.
And do you understand? Hold on.
Okay, so that's a straw man conversation you're having then.
Why is it a straw man conversation when it has to deal with the identity of your finances?
No. I hear where you're trying to go with it, but no.
No. So you act. So wait a minute. Hold on. The development of a central bank that actually that makes you funnel all money into a currency that you're not used to actually having as official currency. It makes it that way. Okay, boom. Now they changed the fact that, okay, now nobody got taxed as a people, but now everybody can be taxed as a people. Now you used to get a senator through your state. So the senator actually only gave a fuck about what's going on with his state. But now senators can be elected through money. So federal government grants and all that shit can get a senator in. So that's why they stay there.
All right, look. Let's hold on, dude. Let's pause it right there. Let's pause it right there because this is not gonna end. It's not gonna end. We gotta hash this out a little bit more. But I wanna get on the conversation of what this just to talk about. You know what I'm saying? So let's get on this. I showed you the Alien Seditions Act, right? So this is what it was really dealing with: naturalization and what was going on at that time. Still, at no point in time, the indigenous people are being mentioned. It's a whole different situation.
They're not in their jurisdiction.
Hold on, let me pull these up real quick, man. Let me give you some. Let me give you some real quick. We're gonna do this first. Can y'all see the screen?
Yeah.
All right. All right. Did y'all catch that?
Catch what?
What he just said. You see General up there?
I didn't hear what he said.
All right, let me run it back. Did anybody else hear it?
No sound. It wasn't no sound, Brody.
Hold on, man. The screen is up. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Y'all can't hear it? You hear me, right?
Yeah,
we can hear you. It just wasn't no sound on the video.
Isn't it? So you there? That's about as loud as it's gonna get. None of your business. Can you hear it?
I can't hear a word he's saying.
No, I hear you, but I don't hear it.
All right, hold on real quick. Let me take this out. I'm gonna go straight to that. I'll just check back out on it. Y'all see the screen, right?
Yep.
All right, let's see. About as loud as it's gonna get.
Sure, I absolutely do. I believe transparency. You're the board of directors for this corporation called the American government, and I believe that you're.
Did you guys hear that?
Somebody mic open up. But
All
I can
right,
hear him now.
Y'all mute
I can
up.
hear him now.
Okay, hold on. Ain't nothing you can hear. It's muted right now. Hold on. Let me come back.
I believe transparency. You're the board of directors for this corporation called the American government, and I.
Did you guys hear that?
Yeah, that's the truth.
Yeah. Is that JFK?
No, that's General Milley. This is 20. Look, I posted This is 2024, 2023.
Yeah, what? That's not something unknown. I can tell you when they became a corporation.
Nah, but you still got people out here that want to argue the fact that it's not, bro. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, most of the masses
And it's
don't
like,
understand that
yeah,
or
so many
overstand
different
that.
sources telling you it's a
You
corporation,
had
bro.
they had to become a corporation,
Right.
right? For the simple fact that you're okay. How do you have a central bank without being a corporation?
Facts. I know, yeah. It's that simple.
Yep.
So now the question is, who owns the corporation?
The
That's
shareholders.
the question. Nobody, huh? Who?
Would it be the shareholders?
Who are the shareholders of America? Not the United States. Who are the shareholders of America?
Let Super tell it we are.
But we are.
Right, yeah,
I know
that's
we
where the
are. I'm
birth
just saying.
certificates
I would say
come in effect.
I would say we are, but we have a middleman going on.
Right,
So it would be all these
Who's the
other,
middleman? Who's
right.
the middleman?
All these other, phony baloney countries.
No.
The ones who claim
middleman
they
here
own the debt.
The middleman here is the United States Federal Reserve.
Okay, who's owned
Yeah, but
by?
that's what she just said though, bro. She said that. The debt. She was right. Knowing your business was right.
You're but it's not foreigners outside of this country. This is a foreign entity that was
No,
created.
yes it is, bro. Yes it is. Because they sell the
They're
debt every
outside of
day, bro.
us. Yeah,
They sell the debts every day. You gotta look at the treasury. They selling foreign debt to China. China owes a lot of our debt. Contingent on us being laborers on the futures market.
Allegedly, right.
Okay.
Right.
Us not knowing that we're
But
paid
they
up
don't.
with our signature.
What they
you're
never
right.
tell you about is your past.
Our past what?
We are tied to the American corporation as we know it. Because if there's you got to understand, if there's a United States corporation, there's an American corporation. That's what they don't tell you. How do you fund and run the American corporation? Through the shareholders, which are the people.
The people, that's the republic. Right.
Right. But they don't tell you. The reason why they don't tell you this information is because these people are specific.
Well, they're double speaking.
They hold more assets than we have credit.
You
Man,
think
hold
so?
on.
No.
Yeah, I'm saying that's what I'm saying. Nah. Hold on. Let's get this get to this conversation in the oral argument.
Or otherwise. As we heard earlier, Professor Mueller's amicus brief tells us how we've thought about enemy aliens in wartime. Even in World War II, when the United States was detaining Japanese nationals who were deemed enemy aliens of the United States, when those enemy aliens had babies in these detention camps, everyone agreed that those babies were US citizens. And Professor Mueller goes on to explain that there are many cases of those US citizens going on to a lifetime of government service to the United States. Everyone agrees those babies are US citizens like everyone else. So again, the touchstone for enemy aliens is
California homeowners. SMUD is paying up to $10,000 to help you take control of your power. Electric bills and
Indians. What about the Indian who's off the reservation or born off of a reservation?
Sure. So to start with the basics, I'll refer to the Indian tribal exception just to use the term of art. The Indian tribal exception, Elk versus Wilkins tells us, comes from the constitutionally unique status of Indian tribes. In the Indian Commerce Clause.
You see, she just made that shit up. The Indian tribal exception. Okay, so what does that mean to me?
The Indian is exempt.
Hold on, man. What does that mean to me? That means that regardless of whatever they got going on, the tribal Indian has an exception. And we know that's Indian is not taxed. That's what we do know. We do know the Indian not taxed, treaties outside the jurisdiction. That's what we know.
Is there anything about tribes in the Constitution? Because I don't remember seeing it.
No, it's not.
No.
But this is the language that they're using.
Constitution ain't got nothing to do with the American Indian.
Yeah,
That is
yes,
the
it do.
motherfucker handing out the leaf.
Yeah, yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Okay, what is the Constitution? U.S.
Indian is not taxed.
Okay, so
Because,
where
you
is
Do you guys not understand the importance? Do you not understand the importance of Indians not taxed?
That means Indian is not in their jurisdiction.
right?
Period.
That lifts you up and above the entire Constitution, and the question is,
It's called recognition. It's called recognition, Eric. Go ahead, done your business. Hold on. Go ahead.
I guess my question is, where's the Constitution for America? Would that just be the Great Law of Peace and the Magna Carta, or what?
The Great Law of Peace.
We haven't got there yet.
Now,
That's a guess.
you also have.
If we answer that question, none of your business, we'd be guessing. We're not going to answer that question right now. We're not going to answer that question right now. I got more to show. Hold on.
We know that tribes are treated as basic.
So she's lying.
All right. Constitutional unique. Constitution. I don't want to hear me. I don't want to hear
The court says.
So allegiance.
The court says.
If you're looking at it because of the special relationship of Indian.
Mm-hmm. All right, go ahead, man. Hit the pause. All right.
So just an entrance of time, just to focus you. How I understand why the Indians are treated differently for purposes of the law, but I want to know, is it tied to territory or is it tied to the status of someone as a member of a tribe? Because if you're looking at it because of the special relationship of Indians to the United States as a matter of the Constitution, et cetera, well, I mean, citizens of France are citizens of a different sovereign as well.
Sure. So.
Now, listen, Derek, she just verified that the Indians, just like the people in France, have allegiance to another sovereign. That's number one. Number two, tied to the Constitution, the supremacy clause. Brother, the Constitution does not exist if you don't have a treaty. They could not form a constitution, articles or otherwise, if they did not have a treaty. They could not function here in America. So we agree with that. So we agree. Okay, we agree. Hold on. No.
What we don't agree on is
hold on, man.
The status
hold
of
on.
the people.
Hey, man, hold on.
Okay.
Look, listen. If the establishment, because you're asking about a constitution, you said the Constitution had nothing to do with it. Recognition in treaties. I recognize you as this because you agree to make sure you recognize me as that which is the sovereign and the controlling party here on this continent. That was the agreement.
Right.
All right. Okay. Now go ahead.
1924.
No, it did not.
No, it didn't. When did it change?
No, it did not. Because when I showed that video, that guy, he said that 100 years ago, he said this in 2025, 100 years ago, Supreme Court already established that the Indians was not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. Still after 1924. After 1924. This is why I showed Baldwin. Baldwin saying what he's saying. You're still dealing with the situation in the 1960s during the civil rights movements and all the other movements during that time where we pledge allegiance to the United States and they never pledge allegiance to us. Why? Because they already knew they could not breach the treaty. They had to figure out a way to do it another way. This is
And the
slavery.
other way, this is what I'm trying to tell you, what is the other way. The other way they did it.
Share with me, brother. Go ahead. I want to hear it.
The 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, and 17th Amendments is how they did it.
Had nothing to do with us.
Okay, guess when it came into play?
Hey, man, there goes your argument, man. It's done.
Guess when it came into play?
Do with us.
Guess when it came into play?
The 13th, 14th, 15th Amendments was an agreement within the treaties. The treaty that was created after the 1865, the 66, 68, and all that stuff, right there between that time, the agreements that was made within those treaties was dealing with children.
I understand.
And the people that was on our plantations working, they wanted them to be freed up so that way they can then give them 40 acres and a mule. Other people say, well, the 40 acres and a mule. No, that 40 acres and a mule had nothing to do with us. Now, this is me talking.
Big facts.
What I'm saying,
all of that. That's why I'm telling you that this change didn't come until much later.
Right.
But the 13th, 14th, the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, Derek, was a part of the treaties, and for us to free people. So that means that the 5 to 14, the children under 21 years old can actually freely travel and work within their system, right? And at the same time, more importantly, in order for the United States to acquire land in these areas that they didn't have.
I understand that.
Yeah, that worked against us. That worked against us. Big time.
From what I understand, each one of those treaties were literally shoehorns to get them in and get different groups of them in at different times after different consents were given by us unknowingly. So each one of those amendments are fraudulent. That's why they had to be fraudulently.
Yes.
Well, yeah, and that's why they had to be fraudulently ratified, because they knew that this was some type of a coup.
This is right, and it's not a coup it's a coup of business. This motherfucker was making a gang of money way back then. Way back then, a gang of money, and it was free trade.
And another point is they were, little by little changing faces, like going from the original colonists that were allowed in who were not pale skinned, and they were little by little, moving these pale skinned persons into play, these proxies. And so that's why they needed all these amendments, etc., because these things don't even have souls.
Okay, the amendments is to consolidate the people and the currency. The efforts of the people stayed the same. In 1865, actually 1861, is when they invented the United States currency. It was worth nothing. It didn't become worth anything until 1865 when they hooked up with the Confederacy. Right. It was still other currencies in play at that time. So the United States currency was just another way of exchanging goods.
Right, but the United States currency. Can y'all hear me? My fault. Go ahead, bro. All right.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Let's move it around.
All right. Let me just say this, because I think we got to start with the Constitution, because once we get a grasp of like what the Constitution is allowing on the land, then we can start. I can articulate it a little better, because right now I'm having difficulty trying to gain my thoughts to articulate this. But I'm gonna do my best, right? So, what the Constitution states is actually for the people that's running the United States corporation, and it puts restrictions on them. See, the Constitution allows people to contract unlimited, right? So once you understand that concept, then you understand where the treaties come from. Now, if the treaties are coming from people within our nations who are doing it illegally, then it makes those treaties illegal because they can't speak for all of us, and we still dealing with that problem today. However, so the Constitution, right, allows our nations, right? Let's say we got all of us got a part of an Indian nation, so to speak, right? So you got one over here in the west, east, wherever. So we already have a body politic. Let's just say with the Great Law of Peace, right? Now the Constitution allows for the formation for that formation where they gotta have that structure where you have, you appointing people as the leader, a president or commander in chief. You got representatives, which is a board of trustees, and you got beneficiaries, which you're working for the people. You say so everybody is structured that way. Now the Constitution doesn't allow them to interfere. This is where the separation of powers comes in. You feel me? Because they mentioned that in this Supreme Court hearing. You heard separation of powers. So now they can't interfere because why? One branch can't interfere. It's checks and balances. Whereas though this way it can disallow for corruption. You know what I mean? We checking the one branch, but the one branch once they form a certain they kind of establish their own means of power structure. Like you got Article 1, Article 2, Article 3. So
Right.
Congress now can't interfere with the executive branch. Executive branch can't interfere with the judicial branch, but they work together collectively to check each other to make sure they're not violating the Constitution. You say
Right.
for the people.
Let me ask-
However, hold
let
on.
me ask you this question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Now, how important is the Commerce Clause, Article 1, Section 8, and Article 1, Section 10? How important is that?
That is the number one that's number one in federal court. Nothing is more heard or dominate those judicial hearings but that article right there, the Commerce Clause. That's number one in the entire country. It's always a conflict. It's always been a conflict with the Commerce Clause, because that's how they formed the Organic Act. They brought everything into a commercial aspect. Where now you see what I was talking. Now let's go back to separation of power. You got judicial, executive, and legislative branch. Right now, the legislative branch is creating its own government through the 14th, 15th, all these amendments. Why? Because now they're creating their own courts. You see what I'm saying? So now, because of the war, and now we breaking out of our national stance, right? Out of our national body politics, which we were protected under the, let's say, the Great Law of Peace, and we had our own body politics, which shielded us from being interfered with the Constitution. Now we leave from out of that. Now we're in their jurisdiction, and now they can bring laws against the individual Indian now, because we're no longer protected because we came out of that. Which that's what the Constitution was protecting us from. But guess what? Fine, we can go back into our nations. Guess who can't go back into can't do that? The foreigners can't do that. Why? Because their body politic is France. So their French Constitution, now we can deport them. The problem was they had a problem with us because now we violate. They might convict us, but guess what? We can go back on the same land that they supposed to have jurisdiction under. We can go back in our territories. You see what I'm saying? On the land, so that they can't deport us. We was the only people that they couldn't deport. So now those nationals, you violate, we can go. Okay, we kick you out. You going back to Britain. You going back to France. You going back to London. You going back to fucking Scotland. Your ass going back to Italy. You going to Africa. We can deport all of them. They couldn't do that with us. You see what I'm saying? So now y'all seeing now the national now that we're nationals on the land, we became more powerful than everybody. You feel me? Because the Constitution prevented them from interfering with our contract, which is our great laws. Because we violated, we get out, we go into the United States. They say, oh, we kicking you out. Okay, fine. Nigga, I'm just going back to Georgia. You feel me? You know what I'm saying? The rest of them was getting they asses got to get deported. So what they do? They go out and say we're going to unite. That's where the real. You remember what are they uniting? We think it's the states. No, they're uniting Europe. All the French, they come over here with the white title, but they was cherry picking at first to expand it. All of y'all, all of a sudden, all on white nowadays. But before it was no, you a Frenchman, you a Briton. You know what I mean? They was picking who was white.
That's that amendment that they was doing.
Right.
But
all
that's
of them
how
are
the
united.
Native American Party started.
All of them are united under white, bro, because of that shit.
Yeah. Hey, Darvis, you there or you moving around?
Peace. What's good with you, King?
I didn't even.
Peace to the goddess, man.
I forgot you was there, bro. Like,
yeah, man. You know me, man. I'm in the cut.
Big Darvis, what's up, big bro?
Nonetheless, what's good with you, God?
Man, I'm hanging, bro.
American Business, you there? Or you just on mute working? Anything? All right. None of your business. Come off mute.
Oh yeah, I'm here.
All right. So Copper Color Indian Goddess put a link in there. Let me see what she's talking about real quick. Let me bring this up.
Hey, Copper Goddess.
What's going on?
Yeah, yo, but see, that's now y'all see where the intent was to say that we was from Africa. You feel me?
Right, because they were waiting for us to no longer remember, and as children,
yeah, exactly. That we was national on this land. They can't deport us nowhere. We was the only ones they can't. You know what I mean? We go back down the street, nigga. That's our shit. I don't give a fuck. We ain't United States citizen no more. So what?
No,
you know what I mean? We ain't give a fuck about that shit.
Okay,
but we stepped down from our protection.
Don't worry about it. You'll see about it. It'll be, you'll know about it tomorrow. All right, now. Y'all be easy. We about to get these things up right now. We're going to keep it as it is, like we normally do. Shout out to the people. More importantly, power to the people. Never forget that. Never forget that. Power to the people.
Yeah, I can get your land back. Yeah, I can discharge your debt. You gotta live by 5 principles before we just connect. Cause you could pose as my friend and then really be the threat. Like Brutus Lee Jr. to the dudes that killed Malcolm X. Get your hand out of my pocket! Get your hand out of my pocket, nigga! Get your hand out! Brother, please. Y'all think getting remedies important. We make your lawyers lose their indemnity insurance. King Chameleon, private. I don't wanna be popular. Grandpapa, Hunk Papa, Mama Black Mafia. Yeah, we them big owners holding rank. You call Rocket Lawyer, I call the owner of the bank. He in the private at the temple, like Ginobili in the paint. And we got 3 militaries. We might be rolling in some tanks. While you balancing with a check gross, going to work for debt notes. Overtime all your life paying mortgages, then you left broke. Damn. Shout out to Mayweather, who's obviously woke. He settled $18 million with a promissory note. I'm not your corporation's chattel. This world gotta be a joke. Blind leading the blind, so we never gonna see.
But I tell you what, I don't know about you, but I'm going to go to bed.
Everybody fake woke while the president is asleep. So I introvert myself, cause it's evident to me. No one saves us but us. Buddha said it in BC. No title, deeds are just reference the evidence to me. Man, you don't own it, you a tenant, and it says it on your deed. You said with a sign, but didn't take the time to even read. There's gotta be an idiocracy. They call you crazy as Kanye, just for thinking logically. 2 million nationals backing us to stop who ain't stopping me. For instance, when Columbus came over here, they admitted Native Americans was already there. But if our kids take a test on who discovered land we on, and you say Native Americans, you get the question wrong. Don't lie to us, you are just a colonist. Can't hide the truth, we got all the proof from the anthropologists. We know the system now, it's time to get up out of it. But it's our fault, cause we fought so hard to be a part of it.
I will never say that progress is being made
If you stick a knife in my back 9 inches and pull it out 6 inches, there's no progress. You pull it all the way out, that's not progress. The progress is healing the wound that the blow made. And they haven't even begun to pull a knife out, much less try and heal the wound. They won't even admit the knife is there.
All people trying to burn us, out and selling services with disclaimers, saying that it ain't for legal purposes. No cash, broke ass, internet burglars with temporary schemes and a lot of fraudulent dreams. Yeah, we got our own embassy, we got our own consulate, foreign administrations, and 3 armies on top of it. We live by 5 principles, but we'll die for this. Freedom back to the people, protect them from the apocalypse. I took that title that they gave me and I clouded it. That's what you say, sets the Cuban. I got a bond with this. My way of thinking pissed the military off. I ain't with their way of thinking, Roman military law. We coming peaceful outside the mosque in the cathedral. And will resort to violence. I gotta protect my people. They call us ghetto, they call us thugs. The only God they worship, guns, oil, and drugs. I'm on the block, Martin Luther King was shot. Holding the gun that killed Kennedy, trying to find a remedy. You can't cancel me nor censor me. With chancery and sensory, God like energy to infinity. My actions are my testament. I got a lot of questioning. How Ben Frank was on 100 but was never president. You broke, you go to jail. You got money, you get right out. They lock you up for drugs, but they got coke in the White House. What?
All right. It's the last one. It's the last one. Hey, when this is done, we out, man. Appreciate y'all being here. Have you do? Don't. You know, I'm just paying. She says, hey, look, this is a long thing. This has been a good day. I'm kind of tired. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We have fun, though. It's good. Appreciate everybody coming up here. Isness, None of Your Business. Derek. Nonetheless. Darvis. Who else was up there? Oh, yeah, me too. And then shout out to everybody else. You know, the crew, right? J-Dub, Richie Rich. Yeah, man. That's what we do. All right. Tired of talking to y'all. It's a wrap. Wait a minute. I got to put it up in there. All right, y'all. This was a good day. You know, on the first day, you know, we did what we did. Yeah, brother. Yeah, brother. All right, y'all.
Don't move it. Don't move it. Yeah. Don't move it. Don't move it. Don't move it.
I'm the coach, quotes coded in oak with a ghost loaded focus. Chrome in the coke, king with the cloak, smoking that hocus pocus. Infinite styles, pivot and pile up the mileage. I'm wild with the science. You see the line on my avatar, iron draw pride. I to devour the silence. Why you niggas steady lying? Got me laughing hard, satire and fraud. I fire the squad. Wise get crossed when I'm sparring with all the guards. Author of art, carving a mark in the bark of the market at large. Target the sharks, heart of a Spartan. I sharpen the margin with bars. You rather bargain and dodge. I'd rather you come get your taxes done. Black suit back, room facts in a stack. I'm relaxing the maximum. Get out of the pocket, the profit of rocket. Then I just might tax you punks. Bracket your funds, I'm stacking in chunks. Reacting to acid, you're begging a punch. Sometimes my community hard-headed, scarred, dreading the lessons. I chart head and start spreading the message, embedded in pressure. Sobbing living, I'm private with it. No corporate percentage. Discharging debt with a pen stroke. You still don't notice the vision. I've been telling y'all you don't want to debate me. Weighty and ready. Great with machetes, linguistically shredding the petty. Grab these 15 acres. Landscape major, plan made paper. Land patent stamped and sacred since my campaign greater. I ain't talking about Ice-T when I say that I can show you law and order. Court recorder, I sort the torture, contort the border. I eat the case, beat the state, leave a trace in a raw supporter. Briefcase aura, got your baby mama thinking that I'm a lawyer. Seminole Indian sentiment, militant on sovereign soil. Private enrollment, tribal component. I'm the boss, you trying to employ it.
Clutch, baby, infinite.